Shall the regular meeting of the Pike County Board of Education come to order? I'd like to call on Mr. Mike Mullins to lead the pledge to the flag, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike. Phil, will you lead us in prayer, please?
Heavenly Father, we thank you this day and for the blessings that you give each of us and the time to be here, Father. Pray for the new administration. Mr. Wesley will seek your guidance and your wisdom in every decision he makes, Father, and pray for the board that they will do the same. Pray for the kids as they begin this new school year, that you keep them safe. It will be a successful year with much education and progress and growth. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. Okay, we need to adopt the agenda. Does anyone have any items they would like to add to the agenda?
Yes. Stop for prayer in school. Hand that Bible in school.
You want to discuss this, or you want to add it?
This is on the sheriff.
Okay, we have time set aside for, yeah, we'll be glad to let you speak.
Okay.
Anyone have an item to add to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I do. I'd like to add an item under discussion without action pertaining to a drug testing program for all Pike County employees. That's added to the section without action.
Okay, let's see. That would come under 13, 8, 7, virtual discussion without action.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be right.
Probably Teresa, you want to add that as item number 5?
Number 5, that'd be number 5.
Did you get what he said? You make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Motion passed to add that item to the agenda. Then I have 2 items I'd like to add. I can give you a copy of mine. Teresa, you want to handle that? Wait till everybody gets one. These are 2 items I'd like to add to 13, 8, 6. Learning support, discussion with action. 9B, approve a pay increase for all Pike County school employees. I'll make that motion to add this to the agenda. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried to add this to the agenda. Then, under another one to add, under 13.8.6, 9C, this is still under learning support, discussion with action. listen and comprehend Board Attorney Mr. Neil Smith's audit report as requested at the last board meeting, July the 9th, 2013, and approve a complete audit of all Pike County schools and departments in addition to the regular school audit performed each year by a local accounting firm. I make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Mr. Chairman, are you asking that a local accounting firm do the audit? Is that what you're asking?
Could be. I'm just asking for us to look at more than we've been looking at with the, I guess everybody in here knows what's been happening lately.
I second.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Add it to the agenda. Any other items could be added to the agenda? Okay, communications from the board member. Hey, Teresa, you got all that? Yeah. Yeah. Did I hear a motion that we adopt? Okay, I'm sorry. We have another one. To delete items number 24 and 36 under consent. These are consent items. These items were duplicated submittals and were approved at the July 9th, 2013 board meeting. This is just deletion of items 24 and 36 under consent. I'll make the motion we do that.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Now, are there any other items to be added to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, if there are no other items, I move we adopt the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? The agenda is adopted. Next are communications from the board members. CB?
Hello, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad to see everybody out here tonight. I'm glad to see a good crowd. And I want to welcome our new superintendent, Mr. Lester. Welcome to the board, I guess. But anyway, I want to say that I believe that we're going into a new direction that's going to be one that everybody's going to be proud of. I know we got a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of work that people would like to see done, but it takes time to get things done. And if you be patient with this board and with this superintendent, I'm sure that you're all going to be pleased with what you see and for what comes out of this. So welcome everybody, and glad you're here.
Mr. Mayor?
I'd also like to welcome everybody here. It's always good to see you guys come out. And I'd also like to welcome Mr. Lester in as superintendent. And just to talk about a little bit what CB said, I think we are in a different direction. And the reason I believe that is I went to some of these open houses, and I've never seen so many parents turn out and so many kids come to these open houses. It was almost like a sense of enthusiasm was in the air. I had teachers and administrators at Pike Central tell me they had never had that many people turn out for an open house at Pike Central. So the enthusiasm is here. Our staff is enthusiastic, and I think you're going to see that overall. Another thing I'd like to do is congratulate Pike Central on their ACT scores this year. Their ACT scores this year went up across the board in every category. So I'd like to commend that staff and thank that staff for all that they're doing for our kids up there. Thank you.
Mr. Alford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to congratulate Valley and Phelps for opening the new schools. I think that'll be a plus for our children in both areas. Valley's not completely finished yet, but the kids are there. And I saw a great deal of enthusiasm and interest and people being in the building. I want to congratulate the principals at Valley for handling so far the 2 open houses that we've had. The first one on Thursday night from 5 to 7, welcoming the K through 4th children and their parents and any general public people that wanted to attend. And on Friday night it was grades 5 through 8 with the children and the parents and any public people that wanted to attend. We had a good crowd, extremely good crowd both night. Our superintendent was there on Thursday evening with us and stayed throughout the thing. I appreciate him coming up and showing his interest and taking part in it. I hope that we will be able to have something a little bit more formal in the very near future after everything is completed up there. And I too would like to mention the fact that I want to congratulate the principal and the teachers at Shelby Valley High School. All their ACT scores proved this past year over the year before, and I'm real proud to say that although it wasn't by much, we were leading the counties in the high scores this past year. But I'm proud to know that all of our schools made improvements from the year before, and that's something we can look forward to. We want to keep on improving, and that was the result of some strong effort in the past that we had this past year. But I think we all got our attention brought to the fact that we did so poorly across the area the year before, and that it was an embarrassment to everybody, and they knew they could do better. One of those phenomenons, I can't believe that every principal and every teacher and every worker in the school system just didn't do anything the year before. I think it was something else, maybe in relation to the standards of the counting or scoring or whatever that made a difference. So maybe it was a time testing on the thing. But I know we got good students. I know we got good teachers, and I would have been really happy to know that we'd had a lot of money available, or money available, so we could have given a raise 3 or 4 years ago, and we might not have had that gap the year before last. But I know the people in this room as teachers and principals and that work for the Board of Education take their job more seriously than just the money. I don't believe you'd be in it if it was just for the money. At least I hope you wouldn't. I think there's no greater responsibility that a person, greater than a teacher's responsibility to try to bring a child along the best that they can. Every child. And every child is different. And the teacher has to understand that. It's a real challenge, but it's a real responsibility. And only, I think, dedicated people ought to be standing in front of our teachers and in front of our children and teaching them. I, too, am glad to see everybody out here tonight. I wish you'd come to every board meeting. I wish we had to have a bigger room for everybody so they could hear things firsthand and not get a lot of information secondhanded or distortion through other sources. But we look forward to a great year this year. We're getting off to a good start. As I understand, Mr. Lester has gotten about 2 or 3 inches shorter from all he's walking around here this last week and a half that he's been on board. So I look forward to our schools improving this year over last year. Thank you very much.
Okay. Dr. Johnson.
I'd also like to welcome Mr. Lester to his first official school board meeting. He was
officially started August the 1st, but believe me, he's really been working since shortly after he was selected as their superintendent up to this point, and I want to thank him for that. As far as the Belfry district, talked to our principals, I think we got off to a fairly smooth start to the beginning of new school year. You know, as excited as the kids are at the end of the year, I think they're more excited about going back to school. I know a lot of the parents are, but I think that's gone real smoothly. And I know two communities that are really excited are the Phelps and the Valley area. I had the opportunity to be over at Phelps Friday, and if you haven't had a chance to look at that school, man, it is really impressive. I mean, it's I can't imagine there's a prettier school in the state, but and I'd like to thank Chuck and Jim, John for all their work. I mean, it's I haven't had a chance to go over to Valley yet, but it is a gorgeous school, and I know the kids are excited, and that community, they really deserve that school, and CB, it's a nice school. So, that's all I have.
And let me just add for a second for everybody to think about Miss Lester that's in the hospital, and think of Hannah Hawks also, that she's got some medical issues too, that they were very instrumental in helping get that school ready for opening day.
Okay. I also want to welcome Mr. Lester, and Chuck said he's off and running, and I'm sure he'll do a fine job. He stole my thunder. I was going to talk about this enrollment he wants to, and I'm sure he'll do a better job. So go ahead, Mr. Lester.
I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I did want to share some enrollment numbers with everyone, the board particularly, and this would be effective as of today. Our total number of students in the district is 9,123, and again, that's the latest and greatest numbers. And that is opposed to 9,172 at the end of the year last year. So it appears that as of today, we've lost about 49 students collectively, and we were 9,393 at the end of the June 2012 school year. So we were down about 270 there. So we're off to a pretty good start. The numbers are not as bad as they could have been. With that number, we feel like we're pretty much holding our own in terms of attendance, and we look forward to perhaps even picking up some more kids as the time goes on. I would also, like to, if I may, just go ahead into some remarks regarding instruction. Okay. Thank you. I would like to also commend particularly the staff and student bodies at Phelps High School and Phelps Elementary School. We had a great dedication over there last Friday for that institution, and those kids were just so respectful of the ceremony and of the facility. Congressman Rogers was there, and due to his schedule, he was about a half hour late, and we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 kids sitting in the gym for a half hour waiting on a congressman. And those of you that are teachers and administrators know the excitement that can cause personally. And but they conducted themselves so well. I was just so very, very proud of them. And we had a super dedication. It is a great facility. Chuck's done a tremendous job there. It was, as you walk through, it's just it's a delight, and those kids are just so proud to be in that facility as opposed to the facility they left last year, and it's a great opportunity for them. I would also like to say that I felt like we got off to a great year with our administrative conference. We had that August 1st, actually my first day on the job. All the principals were in, and we had all our leadership team and those people here in the office sharing some things. And it was a full day, but I felt like we got off to a great start. We had some good interaction. I think I shared some things, they shared some things, and we were, I think at the end of the day, very excited about getting this school year started. And we have started off very well. I think the back-to-school nights that we've had, I've been out for a while, but we had a lot of participation. I got to as many of those as I could, but I was very impressed with the numbers that were out at Johns Creek. I think he had probably over 1,000 students and parents there the night I was there. I was at a number of other schools. I was at Valley, I guess. yesterday and was in a classroom and asked the kids how many of them came to back to school night, and virtually everyone in the classroom held their hand up. It was probably not more than a couple that missed that. So I think we've had great participation there. I think that indicates the excitement and the level of excitement that our kids have in terms of going back to school. And at Valley, of course, I regret and apologize for the 3 days that, and I apologize to those kids yesterday. They accepted my apology very well. They weren't a bit disappointed to have those additional 3 days off last week, but I know the staff appreciated it too. I think we were very close there and we could have almost gotten started, but those additional 3 days gave the staff, gave all the people involved with the outside of the building and got it just looking a little bit better and ready for those kids as they came in Monday. It also gave Mr. Bowling a chance to do the back-to-school event for his kids on Thursday and Friday last week, and I think that was a very positive thing for both he and those students, so they came in yesterday very excited about that day. And you know, last night I was at Virgie and I was driving back down. It was around 9 o'clock, and my wife had never seen that school. So I told her we'd drive around and she could see the outside of it anyway and get a look. But as I drove around there and drove by the office, Mr. Bowling, Mr. Little, Ms. Burke were in that office at 9 o'clock, and they were plotting today's strategy as to how they could better affect those students being delivered back to their homes in the afternoon. They were a little frustrated with the lines yesterday and the evacuation of the students, so they were coming up with a plan, and they'd worked all afternoon. And like I said, 9 o'clock, we probably left at 9:15. They were still in the office coming up with a plan. So they are to be commended. They're teachers all over the county. They spent a great deal of time in classrooms getting ready for this year, and we appreciate that, and I think that helps in terms of getting the year off to a very good start. I do want to let you know that we have a leadership team here that's going to be very active in the next few weeks. They're out in schools this week. They were out last week. We plan on getting back together next week and see what our impressions of the beginning of the year is going to be. But I certainly want to commend the leadership team headed by Sherry Heisey, and that's Robbie Osborne, Kelly Thompson, Tona Hobson, David Sloan, along with Sharon Moore, Clayton Potter, Patty Johnson, and Judy Branham. We've had some very good interaction, and again, I think their participation at the school this week, next week, and us getting back together, they're looking at the focus that schools have in the beginning. They're looking at concerns that are out there, and they're looking at expectations from not only myself, but from them as a leadership team in these 2 weeks. And hopefully at the end of that period of time, we'll be able to get together and plot a course that will assist those schools in doing what they do very well and doing what they want to do even better. And hopefully that will be manifest in better test scores as the year goes along.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. You're
Well,
Mr. Robbins.
either way,
I defer to Mr. Chairman.
I'd be remiss if I didn't extend their appreciation to the local magistrate up there for blacktopping that area around the new around Shelby Valley High School. It made a tremendous difference, and at the beginning near the red light, pretty rough roads where they'd haul the overburden from the site preparation over to the other hillside, and he did that. I just wanted him to do it a little bit wider, but I really appreciate what he has done, and I told him that last night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Thank you, Mr. Ogden. Next is the construction updates. Bill Richardson.
Thank you. Actually, you can see for yourself, if we could have the lights turned down, I think you'll get a better image. The first report is Valley School, and we had a lot going on the last month, as you know, and I think the promise that we could open it up very close to on time was fulfilled by the team. Amazing cooperation of the team, and of managers, subcontractors, contractors, and your staff was amazing in terms of working. That is the large high school parking lot, which we inherited to be able to be used at the elementary school, which really changed everything about this school, as you'll see. But this has been sealed, and the striping has disappeared because we sealed it. But Thursday and Friday night, it worked very well. It was filled all the way out to practically to the Douglas Drive with cars and people in a very organized way were able to pull up to the school and access it. Here's the junction, the entrance off Wildcat Drive to the right near the football field. The staff goes straight ahead, and we've almost got all the striping around the school finished, and we're now striping the entrance and the new parking lot. That'll help tremendously in terms of traffic. Here's where the bus collection is along the side of the school for the students and drop off, and the other buses are all organized. A bunch at a time will be parked here, load up, and go for the high school and pick up, or vice versa. So we're organizing well. Greg has been great with coordinating the high school and the elementary school with Freddie. Well, here's Greg Napier right here with some admiring parents, I hope. Greg, but there's been great collaboration, really, between all of the staff people to handle this new load on us. Here's the front entrance, and nicely greeting for the students, tells the story. Welcome Valley students, that's nice. And the interior and the exterior was really cleaned up. The sod was down. Here's the entrance with the natural items. The name off to the right, at the right is a new bulletproof, or actually bullet resistant glass to the office, and the same thing in the entrance to the left. This is the office itself that receives students and parents through the door. Here's the cafeteria. I think Freddie and staff were having a meeting with teachers after school, just continuing the amazing work that they put in the last month. The teachers, a month ago, got to take their classrooms in an organized manner, but they've been working tremendously hard. I think everybody's very tired, but that's our cafeteria. Another view from the other side, outdoor eating beyond that. But, this is the kitchen finished and clean, which you had never seen before. It wasn't done before. And now here's the interior, all looking really clean and ready to go and going. This is a view from the outside of the front entrance and into the cafeteria. Here is a typical classroom. Notice full of color, and teachers organized, lots of workstations, lots of cooperation, looked like from students too. Another classroom occupied. Here the rubber treads were the last thing to be done on the floor treatments, and here they're putting it in after hours today. Some kids playing, and here with the view of the corridor. This is the preschool corridor down that. Not these aren't preschool students, but down that probably have parents that are there. Teachers coming back from the meeting into the rotunda part of the campus, and that's a really great thing to see. Here they are staying late. Idea of the planetarium, which got a lot of interest and excitement, and the starry night sky above it. More teachers sort of commanding one of our little control centers. We have 4 classrooms and 4 teachers that can sort of share and talk to each other immediately at the doors, which we like in the design. Here's Miss Sue and her kindergarten classroom, which is a model to me because it has like 6 or 8 individual areas, of interest. There's a block building in the back with the computers in one corner, another area beside it, which looks like a kitchen or something. And to the left is another one. Then up in the front there are 3, and there's one by the door. It's impossible for these kindergartners or Head Starters to get bored, I think, in that classroom. Great. Here's the other view toward the technology projector and the smart board, of course, traditional blackboard. Her desk is the last little corner. Another teacher organizing her file cabinets. stuff in the kindergarten. Very cool to see. Here's a team, looks like very promising, very athletic young ladies here are playing ball in a gang of coaches in their new gym, which was really wonderful to see. There's our stage at the far end. And the ball players getting ready. View from the other end of the gym. The gym was really looking nice, I think, with all the lights on, the natural light in. This is a ramp that we won't have the grass in at the playground area behind the building, and also we're getting a new, Freddie and the staff have got a new outdoor playground for commercial quality, one planning to go in and maybe a basketball court. But this is a ramp that goes from the school down to the lower shared soccer field. It's a soccer field at times. It's also a playground during the day for students at Valley. It's a big soccer field size area below. And there we are back to the beginning again. That shows you the extent of the park we'll have to handle all these people. Is there any question?
Bill, I don't have any questions. I know we still got a few little things to finish.
We do.
I would like to add the fact that Doc Johnson's comment regarding the beauty of the Phelps School, and I agree that it is. But I agree that we got one about equal to that, if not exceeding that, as you saw on the pictures there. I've done 2 or 3 things in my lifetime that I'm proud of. And being a part of getting that new facility for the kids in the Valley, Shelby Valley area is one of the most ones that I take pride in.
Me too. And it's been great working with you all for 4 years. But now spotlight quickly shifted last week and I guess a few weeks before to the south side and the new Belfry Elementary School. And we have been talking daily and emailing and getting a schedule ready for you all and the staff particularly look at that we expect to meet to start construction next summer there or maybe even before. So we have the drawings ready to distribute to our team, construction team. They're going to visit the school next week, I think. And meet with staff there and visit it, go through the plans and just see how they're going to divvy this work up over probably 2 summers and a full school year to get it done.
You know, I think you had an attachment here on the project schedule.
Yes.
You know, we've had this discussion several times. I believe before we can do anything at the south side of the new Belfry Elementary School, this road needs to be constructed behind the school with the parking area. And I don't see it anywhere on the project schedule.
John, you want to talk about that?
Well, that's, we're going to get together on September 4th. I think it's the day we're supposed to meet with the design team and all the consultants. And we're going to iron out that bidding schedule. What we put out there was just preliminary. We know that we want to get the school started, the building construction started the day you guys.
To me, it's the
finish
first.
school
We've
year.
been going through that.
But I don't think we can do anything until the road is completed behind the school with the parking area. I mean, it's not on the schedule. I don't know, when you talk about start construction, 5/19/2014, is that when the road will be constructed, or is it going to be before then?
Our intentions there is to start the building construction. And if we could prior, get KD approval, we can start the site.
We're not gonna be able to cut
First
any,
phase.
we're not gonna be able to cut any trees or anything until November the 1st. We'll bring on back and see it happen. At the next board meeting, we've already done the environmental study. We've already done the core drilling. So now we're gonna start the planning phase for getting the bids ready to lay it out, to start doing the site work and the road work behind Southside.
Because we just got particular windows in this project because it's got an existing school there. If we miss one of these windows, it's going to set us back a year. Because there's some things that just can't be done while school's in session.
Yeah, I think that the first phase, and that's why we had already planned it, and I know you haven't been involved so much in it yet, but that's where it was, because we actually need all that fill to be able to fill the parking lot and for the new addition. We need all that to actually start working in school. So it all has to be done, and we can use that whole thing to stage all of the construction in the building, from one end to the other.
That will be one of the first items, because we need that area for lay-down area, for putting materials to build the construction. It is logistically, it's as tough a project as we've had of all these projects we're talking about, because you are gonna have an ongoing campus of small children. We know that the cafeteria renovation addition will have to be done in the summertime. And we know that we have to be daily conscious of egress and access to the building and access away from the building. And we just haven't put that all together yet. But we understand what you're saying.
Well, I'm just saying, if you don't start that road until next summer, I don't think you'll be able to do it. in this time
Well, I
frame.
think that's,
This timetable you have right now.
I'd like to see that done next winter, actually. And I don't know if that'll happen, but that's in the back of our mind.
And you're not looking at shooting the rock, you're looking at using machines that grinds the rock down.
If it's possible. We have, when we get that report, that's.
We don't have the soil report yet, I don't think. I have.
This needs to be just the right kind of rock to be able to do that stuff. That's our idea. We don't need shooting dynamite at a school for that kid. They did the National College that way. You know that high wall line, the National College across from Damon Motors? That's what we discovered.
You know what happened to Sheldon Clark? I hope that's not the case.
That's what we're trying to avoid. Thank you very much.
Chuck?
I don't have any photographs tonight with me for Phelps, but it turned out to be a great project. One of the projects I'm most proud of that we've accomplished as a firm. It had great response at the dedication. Tremendous amount of people, and the students were very, very kind to set. But you could see the excitement in everyone's eyes, and we're very proud of that. So I've taken some photographs. We're going to have someone come and take some more, and I'll have some of those at the next board meeting for you as our final photographs. But a few small punch list items there, nothing major. Codell's pretty much got everything on punch list almost taken care of there.
I do want to just interject here just for a second. I want to wait till now to tell you that Murphy, Graves, and Trimble did a one job. I know you might have got tired of me coming down to
No.
your office in Lexington.
No, sir.
But I also want to thank Jim Codell and the little fellow that's sitting right behind you there, Jim Martin. I know I aggravated him for probably 2 or 3 weeks, and we sat down and done a lot of note-taking and a lot of things, but he made sure that what you had done on paper was done physically, and I just want to personally thank you guys. Thank you much.
I appreciate that. It's good to know that, and we've had a good working relationship with Jim and John throughout the entire project, but anything that we have observed that needed attention, it's gotten attention from them and the subs on the project, so we do appreciate that. We'll be working with them over the next month, starting to compile BG4's owner operation manual, so on and so forth, and submitting those to Mr. Johnson for his review and approval. We are starting to move forward on the athletic fields. Mr. Johnson and I talked a couple days ago, and we also talked tonight about some scheduling of those. At the next board meeting, I'll be presenting a master schedule of how we're going to accomplish that, because there's certain time periods, as Chuck talked about with the school, there's certain time periods here that we've got to try to meet and achieve. So we will be mapping out that game plan between now and the next board meeting and sharing that with you. Are there any questions that you have for me? Thank you.
Jack Wallace.
I don't want to to sound like a broken record, but we're still sort of in the same circling pattern. We are still waiting on the state highway department as far as the right-of-way access property that we're asking for. I checked with them today. It's still in the process. We provided them with the appraisals from Dixon Nunnery that we did on the rest of the property, and hopefully that'll be enough to get them to set a value on that for the transfer of the property to the school board. We do have a schedule, a proposed schedule on the site work. That is as good as the paper it's written on right now, because we are still waiting on EQT and the forbearance agreement on the property. And Neil has made several calls and requests and emails. EQT has not been very forthcoming as far as working with us on the property.
Let me interrupt. If you don't care, let Neil respond to what he's been getting from EQT.
I haven't been getting anything. I've never seen a less cooperative corporate citizen in this community in my 40 years of practicing law. I've sent emails to their Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania office on February the 4th, March 7th, April 4, April 9, May 30, July 8, July 10, July 12. I've probably called them 30 times. I've spoken to a gentleman by the name of George Heflin in Pittsburgh. I have sent him every document he's requested. I can't get any response from him. EQT is blocking this school construction right now. I don't know why. Unfortunately, with the directives we've gotten from Buildings and Grounds in Frankfurt, we have no choice but to work a deal with EQT. And we can't do it. I've called everybody that I know that has any connection locally with EQT, and I'm not getting any response from them. And I don't know why. I can tell you this. They came to us a few years ago with a problem they had with regard to our property, and we were very cooperative with them and helped them get the necessary permit to drill a well some distance from our school in Elkhorn City. And why they haven't been cooperative with us, I just don't know. I think maybe some of the people in that community whose kids will be going to this new school need to do whatever they can to let EQT know that we don't appreciate this. I don't know what else to say, but it's been very, very frustrating.
And I thought that when you sent them the agreement that we worked out with Kinzer, that was supposed to move it along, and that hasn't been.
Kinzers were extremely cooperative on the south side property. They, and of course, we met up here with them, and they signed a forbearance agreement that we prepared, and it was approved by the folks in Frankfurt. Mr. Heflin asked that I send that to him so that EQT could consider it, and he said they would either approve it or amend it and send it back to me, and that's been months ago. And I haven't gotten anything from them, and we need to find a way to get them to cooperate with us.
As far as the Department of Education is concerned, that has to happen really before they're going to give us any approvals on the property, on the project. Because in their eyes, technically, we don't own that property. Now, we know we bought it, and we know we own it, we control it, but in their eyes, we don't have that property, and if we don't have that property, we don't have a project. And they won't approve any money.
It's a pretty simple issue. They want us to either buy the gas in the existing gas wells, which would be cost prohibitive. I mean, you probably talk.
There are 2 wells on there.
Up to $2 million, like the 2 wells and the gas underlying it, or get a forbearance agreement. And of course, I think EQT knew that, and they tried to force us to buy their wells and their reserves, which of course we don't need it, and don't want to do that, don't want to spend that kind of money on something we don't need. But I mean,
and we also provided them drawings showing that their wells are nowhere in proximity of our building.
That is correct. I sent that to them 6 weeks ago at least.
At least, yes.
And showing that their wells were, I think, 900 and 1,400 feet respectively.
So we would not, nothing we were doing would compromise where their well locations are.
Not at all.
Jack and Neil, what you propose that we do at the Board of Education?
You know, I honestly don't know, because typically when property owners don't cooperate, you file a condemnation suit. But we don't want to file a condemnation suit because we don't want to buy their gas or their gas wells.
Right.
I'd like to see Chris run a front page story saying EQT blocks school construction, and see how they like that kind of publicity in this community. I really would.
I mean, if
and
we've
they are,
made
they're
the
blocking
offer,
this school construction.
we've made the offer to come and meet them, and
Oh,
that's not happened either.
Yeah, we've reached out to them every way I know how. And, as a matter of fact, I was in Mr. Johnson's office Thursday or Friday. We called him on speakerphone, got a voicemail, asked him to call me. Haven't heard a word from him. I called him yesterday, left him a voicemail. I don't know, maybe he sees my number, just doesn't pick up, but I'm leaving voicemails and no response. So,
We're sort of at a standstill. I mean, outside of showing up in Pittsburgh and hoping he's in his office, I don't know what to do.
you know, the one thing we might try to do, which is what CB and I and a bunch of guys did to get this Phelps thing done, we went to Frankfurt with some help. With some people who had some political clout, and we got things done. Maybe KDE would reconsider this forbearance requirement. You know, I mean, the practical matter is EQT cannot drill close to our school facility once we build it. They don't have any grounds to object to where we build this building. Once we build it, they can't drill near that building. And then too, as the surface owners, and we are the surface owners now, they would have to notice us with any permit application to drill on that property. And if we objected to it with the Department of Mines and Minerals Division of Oil and Gas, they would not, I'm sure, approve a permit to drill on that property. So I mean, a forbearance agreement is just a little bit unnecessary, but it's what KDE is requiring us to do.
I believe a meeting that you talked about would help.
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, I don't know what else to do. That's probably our only option right now.
Well, that would be a meeting with Frankfurt.
Yes.
And the only other thing is EQT, and offer to have EQT send them an invitation to have them come to the same meeting.
Yeah, I mean, if we could just get anybody who could get EQT to just respond to us. I don't know. I even called their attorney here locally, and of course he's the one who put me in touch with George Heflin. Mr. Heflin has not been at all cooperative.
Well, I had checked with some of the other sources with EQT, the locals, and actually the one that they pointed me to was George Heflin.
Yeah.
That he would have to be the one to sign off on it.
Right. I have spoken with him, and he's not done anything that he told me he would do.
We can try to set up something with Frankfurt and
We
lead our
do that
days.
and invite them to be present and participate. I mean, we really don't have any leverage with them. We don't have any way to force them to do anything.
No, they're getting gas out of their wells.
Sure.
They're not losing anything in the process.
That's right. I mean, the only thing to persuade them to be cooperative with us is to appeal to their decency as a corporate citizen. I mean, I know they're a Pennsylvania corporation, but they've
got an office right in this
got a lot of
county,
money
so-
on the ground here, you know, and they continue to do that. You would think that they would be a little more mindful, I think, of their civic responsibility. I mean, that's the way I feel about them right now. It's been frustrating.
I think one of your ideas a while ago was pretty good. They saw the headline in the paper that it's holding up development of a new school. We may be in danger of losing one of these days if we don't get it.
And then maybe get some parents together and let them go over to their new corporate office here in Pike County.
Okay, let's
Okay.
why don't you set up that meeting for us in Frankfurt?
Okay.
And we can get some help.
I'll do that.
The KDE has been adamant to this point that the forbearance agreement is required.
Yes, sir.
They invented
Mr.
it.
Lester,
We've never used it before.
In the 4 years I've done this, had to have a marriage agreement on gas. And we have on coal, of course, because you don't want people mining underneath the building. The extraction of gas from our surface will not have any effect on any structure we have. So I think the requirement of KDE is just over the top, but they don't agree with me. But,
And we were able to get a forbearance agreement on the south side.
we were, but, yeah, that was because the Kinsers always have been very, very considerate and cooperative with everything we've ever done. There's a big difference between how the Kinsers respond to our needs and EQT.
And there's nothing on the property or the building that we're doing that would cause them any harm or any other. They can drill other wells on that property up on the ridge.
Sure.
Building it on. So there's nothing there that would really be stopping them from doing anything operating their business.
And we've
No
seen
reason.
those maps showing that, showing the location of the athletic facilities, the school, their existing wells.
Right.
The roads are already there. We haven't.
And we told them they could access it, their existing wells through our property. We never told them anything good. And the locals have been very helpful. I mean, the local people have been very cooperative. It's just been corporate offices now.
I'm sure Mr. Smith is doing all he can do, and I'm sure that you are, Jack, but we can all see both of you are highly frustrated. I'm more so than that. I know that Mr. Lester is, and Ms. Moore is. I'm looking here at a Millard Elementary proposal for these dates. Commenced design, proposed date was 1/1/13, which we've done. Number 2, complete the schematic design by 10/8/13, which is approaching. Well, you're probably pretty close on that, aren't you?
That's not a problem. It's just getting the approval of those drawings from the state. We can do the schematic designs. They actually did a review for us, a schematic design. They did a favor for me just to review our drawings, just to look at them. And it was, there had a couple of small changes on the building and the site. That wasn't official though, because.
Okay. Of course, there are dates on here for provide for the budget plan, all the things down through here. And here's one that I hope is a typographical error. Item 16, prepare contracts, 2/12/25. Somebody tell me that is a mistake, I hope.
I think that was.
That's February 12th through
Yeah.
February 25th.
Not the year 25. Not 025.
Yeah, February 12th through 25th.
It's been a long project, but it's not going to be that long.
I might have known that, but it's bad. It's bad.
Well, Neil and I will get together and see if we can work out, and whatever other forces we need to contact to come up there, whether it's some of the same ones that we had on the other. We can do that.
Absolutely.
So that's predominantly what will hold our project up, is that we'll work on trying to figure out some way of getting around.
Well, I'm sure you're doing all you can, and I'm sure that Neil is, but I think we do need to get this meeting set up in Frankfurt.
And we'll invite EQT and their representatives to be at that meeting, whether they show up or not. But we'll put something together.
We'll go.
Yes.
Thank you, Jack.
You're welcome.
School counselor staff, Mr. Hamilton, President of the Pike County Education Association.
Hold on 1 second, I gotta roll my sleeves up here. Get down to this.
Time to roll our sleeves up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board members. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, Dr. Lesher, and distinguished guest. As president of the Pike County Education Association, I represent mainly teachers, but we represent classified, bus drivers, cooks, custodians. And today I would like to talk to you about what happens in 8 years. Okay? And I got a few statistics, and I won't be too long here. But back in 2005, the price of a gallon of gas was about around $2.18. As of June of 2013, $3.63, with it topping in June of 2008 of over $4. A gallon of milk, 2005, less than $3. 2013, right at or slightly above $4. Insurance premiums keep going up, and with the new insurance coming in, we don't know how it's going to affect teachers, people of education. Electricity, that keeps going up for everybody, and everybody has to deal with that. And for a profession where you've got to do a continuous education, the price of those classes and the price of that tuition keeps going up. So, as president of the Pike County Education Association, I respectfully submit to you that the Pike County Board of Education give all of its employees a raise, or you can call it cost of living adjustment, or increase in salary. I think, and I know the teachers want it, they need it, and they deserve it. And the employees, every employee deserves it. I think they're worth it. Thank you. Thank you. And I am pleased to see that on the agenda too. Okay? So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Students, having comments from the students? Citizens? Go ahead.
I guess that prayer, but really it's about religious rights in school. I have contacted an attorney, Christian Law Association, and I have a 4-page letter here. I understand that the ACLU is trying to keep Bibles and things out of schools. It's not legal, and I don't believe the board wants to do it. And I have got an attorney on it for us, and I'm willing to help if you all have any questions. If you contact me, I will contact my attorney. There will be Bibles like this that will be given out in Pike County schools. I also understand that when the Gideons done it, there was an age limit. The way that the churches are doing it right now, every church is buying a case of Bibles, 80 Bibles. The students are passing them out. According to my attorney, there is no age limit. Head Start kids can give them out. As long as it's students, giving it to students, not adults. Now, with adults, there is an age limit. But I would like to share with you these documents and give them to the board and let you see them so that we know that they do tell in here that if those rights are violated, they will sue. But on the other hand, I want you to know that we are not your enemy, and I don't believe you're our enemy. We're here, I'm here to fight for the kids' rights, and I think that you all would do the same thing. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, if you don't mind, let's let Neil, will you address that one?
Well, I'd like to see
Yes, sir.
the letter you have. Is that for us? Can I keep that?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I appreciate it.
That's the law that were written in the 90s.
There has been a lot of litigation, federal court litigation over these matters. When and how you do that is matters whether or not it's legal. So you have to be careful in how you go about this, but I'll be happy to look at this and advise on any of the issues.
Mr. Smith, will you review that document and give us your opinion along with a copy of that?
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay.
I only have one copy of the file, but I'll get some copies of it on it. It also has the students' drive on the campus. It's printed by Rocket Bay and Franklin. And also part of the CLO. Got their website on there. I will get you a copy of it in about a week. Thank you.
Any other citizens have Joe Kinzer, March of Dimes? Joe here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lester, congratulations and welcome. And also to the board members, some I do know, some I don't know. I'll be very brief because I have to take my wife to work in about 20 minutes at the hospital, so I'll be very, very brief. I work for East Kentucky Broadcasting. I'm not here tonight to represent our company. I am here to represent the March of Dimes. I stood before this board last year to ask the board for us to gain permission to allow schools and students, if they choose district-wide, to fundraise for the March of Dimes. To the new board members that's been newly elected, and to the superintendent, the reason why that I was involved in the March of Dimes, Jackson Tate Kinzer, I have a little 2-year-old boy. He's going to be 2 years old, actually, in about a couple of weeks. He weighed 1 pound 15 ounces and was born at UK and spent 74 days in the NICU. We didn't know if he was going to pretty much live or die. It was just a traumatic experience, especially for a first-time parent. That's the reason why that my wife Dara and I became involved with the March of Dimes. We have a March of Dimes team called Team Jackson Tate. I came up with an idea walking last year that I didn't realize that a lot of children are born premature. I've had a lot of students that's came up to me, just not in Pike County, but Mingo County, Johnson County, and that has said that have shared their story about prematurity and effects. So that's the reason why that I'm very that I like this cause. I have questions. Some nonprofits, they wonder where the money goes. 76 cents on per dollar out of every dollar raised goes towards research. I mean, I think that is a very high account. So I think March of Dimes is a worthy charity. Their researches, surfactant, Dr. Johnson, he can be, I don't have Dr. Hamilton from PMC here today because he had to work, but the surfactant shot, you give the mothers the surfactant shot, and it gives the child, when they're born premature, their lungs to mature and to expand. And the thing about it is, if it wasn't for that, a lot of babies, the mortality rate would be very, very high. It has decreased over the last few years, and I apologize to the board and Mr. Superintendent that I don't have Dr. Hamlin or Kristen Lehman with the March of Dimes here today. They just couldn't be here today. So I came up with an idea of last year, again, for the schools that wanted to participate, and it was a last-minute thing. It was just on a whim, and the board approved it. Last year, we raised $36,000 total for the March of Dimes. This school district raised over $10,000. Mullins Elementary, we have about a 4 to 5 foot traveling trophy. Mullins Elementary won the traveling trophy. We awarded that out 2 or 3 weeks ago. Johns Creek came in second. I know Pikeville Elementary is not a part of the school district. They came in third. I think it's a huge success when over $10,000 is raised. That's nearly 1/3 of all monies raised for the March of Dimes. I'll be honest with you, we live in coal country, but 0 of that last year was coal dollars. There's a lot of, the coal-related businesses they're just not able to participate. So I'm asking here today for the board to renew what they did last year. Kristen Lehman with the March of Dimes works out of Lexington will work closely with Mr. Branham if approval. And our March of Dimes will be held at Bob Amos Park at the track Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock, September 28th. So if anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer.
No, I got a question.
Okay.
You said we approved that last year.
Yes, sir.
You told us what the success was.
Yes, sir.
Now, how did that work throughout each school?
Okay, what we did last year, we had like little cards that came in for the March of Dimes, and the carriers for the school came out, and delivered to the schools. There was either a teacher or a guidance counselor that took ownership, put that into the schools last year, and the communication could have been better because we just did this for a second thing last year, and it was the first year of the go around. Mr. Kristen will work closely with the schools. Also in my spare time, to make sure that the communication's better this year, that it's not going to be boxes this year. It's going to be like little, like you put pennies in this year. That's the way that the March of Dimes told me. They've eliminated the boxes because of cost and put the little penny sleeves this go around. We'll work closely. It's just like every time when you have a first year, something in its first year, you can always improve on that, and I think we will improve on that in its second year.
Did you go through the principals of each school or the supervisors? How was that initiated?
Okay, I emailed the principals of each school. Also, Mr. Branham, he gave me a list, and Ricky also helped out. He gave me the contact person for each school that we emailed and contacted. If it wasn't for Ricky, he was a big help. He was a huge help last year. So that's how we contacted last year.
What was the time frame again, Joe?
The March of Dimes walk is September 28th, but also what I failed to ask to address Mr. Lesser is that all money does not have to be in by September 28th. It's a calendar year. So if there's money that rolls in, in December, that's fine. I had that happen last year to some schools. They mailed some checks into the radio station to me, or I went and got them. So that counts as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great organization, and they do wonders. I don't know how many years March of Dimes has been in existence.
75 this year.
I think we need to put that on.
Will that cause you any problem if we put this on the agenda and do it at the next meeting? Which would be
September 28th.
September 10th, when next meeting.
That kind of close because September 28th is if it's a perfect world, I'd love to have approval tonight, because if we have approval tonight, we can begin next week. Ms. Lehman from March of Dimes can work with Ricky and coordinate with the schools. If we wait to September 10th, it really don't give us a lot of a deadline.
I think they said we maybe have to put it on.
I have an item on the agenda every month that says approved fundraisers, so we can just.
Can we do
Yeah,
that?
there's a fundraiser.
It's already on the agenda.
Okay.
We can do that tonight.
Yes,
You
so we
can
can
add
just
that
have
as a
one
fundraiser as part of the consent.
Yeah, the reason why I was up here tonight because with every my understanding is with every fundraiser has to be approved district wise. And I just want to give a little bit of an update last year, how it happened, who got the traveling trophies, and just give a little bit of an update because I know Mr. Maynard's new to the board. I think Mr. Villager, you're new superintendent. I just want just to address and just to give everybody an update on how it went last year.
Next year, come a month or two earlier.
I will come a couple months earlier next year.
So, gentlemen, that will be added under item 10, under action by consent, school-wide fundraiser.
Need a motion?
Just add that on there. If you approve the consent agenda, then that would approve that fundraiser.
any other citizens? Okay, next, you taking care of this, right? Okay. Action by consent. We'll need a motion to approve these items, action by consent, and we have added to that to delete items 24 and 36 under consent. So I need a motion to approve the action by consent items with the elimination of items 24 and 36. Do I hear a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the items under action by consent with the deletion of
the ones you mentioned.
Okay, 24 and 36.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, action by consent is approved. Then we go to 13.8.6, learning support, discussion with action. And that first item is discussion and approve the exception or rejection of the Pike County School District's participation in Pikeville. Who's ready to talk?
Is there a representative here from Pike TV?
Let's take that issue until we get representative Pike TV to discuss that.
Have a motion that we table this, item number 1 under 13.8.6. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carried. Item 2, approve setting the 2014 motor vehicle and watercraft property tax rate at 55.30 cents per $100 of assessed value. I have a question, yeah. What was it last year?
Same, it's been the same since January 1st, 1983. We are not allowed to exceed the rate that was established and put in place on January 1st, 1983.
I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Number 3, approve escrowing on the 2012-13 annual financial report, $220,315.87 of carried forward SBDM instructional supply money to be reallocated to SBDM council for the 2013-14 school year. Do I hear a motion?
Well, let me ask a question first. I understand the last part, but I would like to get an explanation on the first sentence.
Approve the escrowing of the, you have a question about the amount, $220,000.
Escrowing it on the 2012 or 13.
Where'd it come from?
On the June 30th statement, we are required to show obligations of funds that we have. Our board policy states that any Section 6 money not used by the schools, which is their SBDM allocation, will be saved for them for the next year and reallocated to them. So therefore, on the balance sheet, we cannot put that in every year in balance because that money is obligated. It's already obligated to site-based councils. So we have to escrow it showing that this money is reserved for site-based councils on June 30th. And then on July 1, we give it back to them.
Is reallocated exactly what they had left over?
What they have left over on here, the first school's Belfry, exactly what Belfry has in there, they'll get back in their code. It goes exactly this way.
But we can have it escrowed on the final financial report for 2013.
We have this, we're doing that here, you think we've done it. On the July 25th, I turned the report in, but you all have not seen the report yet, it's on this agenda. So that's why it's not on there yet. I have to get your permission. What you all did before was to approve the concept of escrowing that money, but you've not actually done it yet. This is the action.
They get the money.
Right.
Okay.
I make a motion.
That was my question. The exact amount that that school, that you had to place in the escrow account, that amount goes back to that school.
Yes, I'm required actually on the their statements to show that money separately and then to show it going into those schools. Yeah, I have the principal out here, they'll tell you they get a statement showing how much they're gonna have for the year, which includes what they had last year plus what they're allocated this year is their new allocation amount.
This amount they have in escrow has nothing to do with what they're allotted for the new year.
No, you
Gotta
take,
go on attendance for your enrollment.
yeah, you take, the ABA times 3.5% of base C, and that's what we allocate each year. They're not-
Last year's stats.
Yes, so in March of 2012, you allocated 13, no, wait a minute, in 12, you allocated this for this to go into effect July 1st. What they didn't use by June 30th of 2013, then we had to carry over to the new year, to be added to their new amount for the new year. They got a lot of little numbers, they see.
Put that
Okay.
for a motion.
Yeah, we would have a motion. Bertha, do you make the motion? Somebody make the
Well,
motion.
here's somebody.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second?
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passed. Okay, that was. Now, number 4, approve escrowing on the 2012-13 annual finance report 30%, which is $544,606.85 for the 2012-2013 sick leave buyout of eligible retirees. You want to explain that one?
Yes, at the time that our employees retire, they're paid 30% of their sick days that they still have available at that time, and it goes towards their retirement, whether you're certified or classified. We have that number, each year I calculate, these are the people that are eligible for retirement. In order to protect our employees, we escrow 30% of that, so that if for some reason we don't have money in the budget, we can come over and pull from this escrow to pay those people that are retiring, that we might not have the money in the budget to pay. So this is for our employees' protection.
Is this leftover amount is what we didn't give to retirees?
No. What I do is take who was available on June the 30th for retirement, who was eligible by either age or years of experience. Then I calculated what 30% of their sick time was, because that's what they were eligible to get. And then from that, we escrow 30% to protect them. We also budgeted, but if we did not have the money on June 30th, if somebody was retired and we didn't have the money, I could come to the board and say, we don't have enough money to pay these people, but we have it in escrow, so we need to take it out and pay them their sick leave. So it's a true protection for our employees.
Carry it forward. It's just taking that amount, putting it aside in the event that those people retire.
And we carry that every year, Virgil, and this year, all we're doing is increasing that amount by $51,000 due to the amount of increase that we have.
Will we add some more to it this year?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, we're adding $51,412 to what we had left over on June 30th.
Yeah,
Based on the number.
the number, but
Right,
eligible
and the number of days that they had that were eligible to buy.
I put that for a motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, approve escrowing on the 2012-2013 annual financial report, $1,390,141.32 for reserve for workers' compensation self-insurance program.
Since we started the self-insurance program, and Justin can speak a little bit more about having reserves out there to help you if you have losses, we are self-insured, unlike a company when you just go buy your workers' comp and the next year you go on to the next company or whatever, and they take care of your losses. We have to take care of their losses until they're paid out, I guess is the best way to put it. So after a couple of years of the program and realizing the magnitude of the cost of the program, we decided, and I recommended to the board and some of Ms. Trotman at that time, that we escrow a 3-year average. So we take 3 years and figure out how much did we actually pay out on workers' comp in those years, including premiums and everything, the total cost to run this program. We divide that by 3 to come up to the amount that we think we should escrow on the balance sheet. Now, should the workers' comp program end being self-insured, this would eventually run off as we paid off our bills, and we could let this go back into the general fund or pay off those bills. But right now, because we have so much outstanding, we need to keep this amount escrowed. Justin, you have any comment on it? Is that?
No, you pretty much hit it all.
Okay.
Good explanation. I approve, we accept.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, approve the 2012-13 unaudited annual financial report.
Explain that.
Oh, I'm going to. You'll wish you hadn't asked. No, I'm going to try to be brief and concise, and Virgil, if I go too fast, slow
Yeah,
me
you
down.
can go too fast, but I'm slow.
Actually, so much, you can take one next week, now let's go too
Not
fast.
in rates to that.
Okay. Each year at this time, we do an unaudited financial statement. So first, I want to give you a couple of definitions. If I say the words AFR, that means the annual financial report, which you have an attachment to on your iPad, okay? But I'm going to try to make it a little easier to look at because there's quite a few pages within the AFR itself. If I say the words accounts payable, an accounts payable is any product or service that we have received by June the 30th, which is the end of the fiscal year, that we had not paid for. If we get the bill between July 1 and August the 30th, it becomes a payable on our financial statements, and I have to make an entry for it. So it's strictly services and products we got, we just hadn't paid for, but we got the bill by August 30th. We have to include it. A receivable is the exact opposite. It's a revenue or an expense reimbursement that we should have gotten by June the 30th, but we hadn't. But we get it somewhere between July 1 and August 30th. So we still have to recognize that back to June the 30th. Are you there, Virgil? Does that make sense, okay? We were due these monies, or we should have paid these bills, but they just didn't come in by the June 30th closing date. That's how it works. And last, if I say the word GASB, and I do frequently, that is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. Those are the people that make the rules that we have to live by when you do governmental accounting. And there are some changes on here this year that GASB has recommended, so you will hear me say the word GASB. Okay, this is the AFR that I submitted to the state on behalf of the board on July the 25th, which is the due date for the unaudited AFR. The actual receivables and payables that I had through July 25th, I put on those, so those were true numbers. Then after that, I had to estimate additional accounts receivable and additional accounts payable and put them on there. Now, as they come in and they're actual, I adjust them. I will continue to do that through August the 31st. So anything I get in or anything that I pay that should have been a part of last year, I'll have to make an adjustment for on these numbers. So these are not final numbers. The auditor, when he comes in, can actually make adjustments if required, which rarely we do, but he can. And that will be made until November 1st. And then the final audited AFR is sent to the state on November the 15th. And the auditor comes and makes a presentation to you in December, and we give you an updated AFR. So this is a long process. Does all that make sense? Any questions on the time frame of this? Just to let you know, the numbers now are as solid as we know right now, but there could be adjustments to them. Okay. The annual financial report, and that is the biggest handout you have on your iPad, is a breakdown of revenues and expenditures by fund. You know, we have multiple funds. We have general fund, grants, capital outlay, building fund. It's all broken down in your AFR. In your revenues, you'll have 4 basic areas. You'll have the beginning balance. You'll have local, state, federal revenue. You also have an other category, which we don't always have a lot in, but you can have it. Expenditures are broken down into various areas, and I won't read all this to you, but it starts with instruction and it goes all the way down. All these different areas are broke out in your AFR. I'm not going to go over each of these areas because you all can read it. It looks just like the monthly report. And if you have specific questions, I'm always available to answer. And I didn't want us here till midnight. So that's how the AFR works. Now what this is, those 40-some pages you got, 50, I broke it down into this simple spreadsheet. This is not fund balance. This is not how much money that we have that's free to spend. Okay, this is just truly looking at, which is all the AFR looks at, your revenues minus your expenses, and give it a difference. And I don't want you to get freaked out when you look at this $24 million negative number. That's because we bonded Phelps and Valley in the previous 11-12 fiscal year, but we spent the bulk of the money in the 12-13 fiscal year. So we had a beginning balance that came into that was okay. I will tell you that special revenue has to always end with a 0 because that's your grants, that's your Fund 2, and our grants, by GASB standards, they have to zero out. You have to say, I'm due money, or I've got extra money, and it's called a deferred revenue. But there always has to be a zero there. Fund 310 is capital outlay. That's the one that we transfer money to pay for our insurances from. That has to either zero out or be escrowed, as does Fund 320. So if you'll remember at the last board meeting, instead of transferring this to the general fund like we talked about, we ended up escrowing this money. So we had less in the general fund than we intended. We talked about because of that. And then here's school food services initial cash balance, but not the fund balance. Is there any questions on the fact that this is not really how much money you have, it's just a basic revenue minus expenditures? Because you have to make your adjustments like we just talked about. Okay? What's more important when you go to look at your annual financial report is the balance sheet. The balance sheet, for those of you who have always heard the accounting equation, if you had an accounting class in grade 8, you're probably the first thing they told me day one, Howard Roberts, Calvert College, assets equal liabilities plus capital. If it don't, you got a problem. So that's what we work on. The balance sheet, this is also called sometimes the balance sheet equation. So whether you're looking at a business, private, or public, or you're doing your own books at home, if you do a balance sheet, your assets are going to be your cash, accounts receivable, and inventory, basically. That's what you've got. Your liabilities are always going to be payables, whether it's accounts payable, benefits or salaries payable, or deferred revenues in Fund 2, which means on state grants, you get money ahead of time. If you don't spend it all, it's called a deferred revenue, and you hold it over till you do spend it. But it's called a deferred revenue. The last is capital. That's any fund balances, any reserve, like we just talked about, all the monies that we reserve, any committed funds, assigned funds, restricted funds. And then Our wonderful friends at Gatsby say if you have inventories up here and the inventories cannot be converted to cash, but down here they become a non-spendable inventory, which affects food service. Lee said that's the only one that we have that in, okay? So that's a basic balance sheet. Any
Next.
questions?
You talked about those grants and things, you don't spend it on.
Right.
Does that reduce the next year's grant?
No,
If
it
we
does
get the
not.
Same grant, it just adds to
No,
it?
we have some grants that Justin Kilby runs that we have the spending freeze on that have to be spent by certain dates. Most are June 30th, some will be September 30th. Now, if you don't spend them, it doesn't reduce next year, but you don't need to spend what you have left over. We have not had that problem. We tend to spend more than we have most of the time, so I don't worry about those grants. They're going to spend their money, well, I promise you, but no, we do not reduce. Okay? This is the same type of report I told you. You've got a report in your packet that's about 7 pages, but this is a summary of what the balance sheet looks like by fund. Now, Fund 1 and Fund 51 we're going to discuss in detail because that's general fund and food service, and those are the ones that can get the district in trouble with your deficit. So we're going to quickly hit Fund 2, which is grants, which I told you, they have a negative cash balance right now, but we have monies coming in, and this is deferred revenue, but they still should always have a zero balance, and they do. Okay, capital outlay was already zeroed out. We used all that money this year. Building fund has a cash balance of $790,000, which is the money that you all escrowed last month for future construction. So I came over here and put in an account that says reserved for future construction, and we now have a zero balance in that fund, and that money's on reserve and will be in there for us to use. So, and then Fund 360 is construction, and that's going to play in a moment how construction works. But we have cash in there. We have payables, and then we have the rest of it that's left over in there escrowed for construction, because that's the only thing you can do with it, and it must have a zero balance. So are there any questions on these 4 funds right here before we go on into the detail? They all have to end up being zero is the primary thing, and ours are. We do what the law requires. If it makes sense, questions, problems? Okay. Now we're going to look at school food service in detail on their balance sheet. Right now in cash, on June 30th, they had a negative cash balance, but that's because their receivables run a couple of months behind from the federal government. So their May request for payment, which was over $300,000, did not come in until July. So it's included in the receivables rather than in cash. They have to show their inventories up here. This was their actual inventory count on June 30th. Then it has to show up again down here because they can't spend it, so it's a non-spendable. Those cancel each other out. But on a balance sheet, if you take your assets and you subtract off your liabilities, which all she has is this accounts payable, and then you subtract off what you can't spend as a non-spendable, and this is purchase orders that were in place on June 30th that hadn't been paid yet, and we hadn't received the services. If you subtract that off, you get her fund balance. This is actually the money that they were available to spend on June 30th in food service. The only thing is they can't call theirs fund balance because the people at Gatsby says you can't call it because of the type of fund that it is. So theirs is called unrestricted net assets, but it's still an available amount of cash. Any questions on this? Because what we're going to do is compare this year to last year, which is the important part. How did they do this year? Did we improve? So if you'll go to the next slide, this is 11-12, this is 12-13. It's important to look at the beginning balance last year in food service in the 11-12 school year was $410,000. Their ending balance was only $18,267. So that means in the 11-12 school year, they spent $392,000 more than they took in. So then, conversely, if you look at 12-13, this ending balance here in 11-12 became the beginning balance in 12-13. Once they added their revenues and their expenses, they actually ended the year with $322,000, which means serving free lunch, we actually increased. We had $304,000 more in revenue than we did expenses. And there are a couple of reasons why. One is we got an additional reimbursement amount of 6 cents. If you guys remember, I think Melissa mentioned that several times, the 6 cents that was an add-on to our original cost. That helped. The salary is negligible because we didn't have a food service director for a period of time. That takes up part of that salary. But food is another great savings here. If you look, they went from $2,795 to $2,555 with the cost of food going up. Part of it was we were serving a lot of prepackaged, and they were trying to do more of the full serve, I guess, Lisa, was what we want to call it. It's more of a full serve rather than these quickie breakfasts. And I know some schools are still eating Pop-Tarts, so don't fuss at me. I'm just saying that we had been trying to buy more of those at breakfast time in 12-13 than we get in 11-12 because the cost of a prepackaged meal is so expensive. It's better if we can cook it and serve a breakfast. So that is some of the areas they looked at. Also, other expenses, a lot of times this is equipment and some supplies. So there were some savings here as well. So the bottom line is they did a good job by going up $304,000 more in revenue. So is there any questions on school food service this year? Okay, general fund. The balance sheet works the same way. You got your assets up here. GASB, our friends at GASB, again, we have this new category called cash summer payrolls. The summer payrolls that I write out for the teachers on June 30th, we never had to include on the balance sheet. Even though we didn't mail them out to the teachers, we didn't have to include them because they're expensed off by June 30th because they earned that money in that school year. Now they're saying you still have to expense them off, but you've got to show them in your assets as cash because you have cash on hand, and then you have to show them in your liabilities as a payable, in the payrolls. So those two just cancel each other out. It's just a bunch of accountants who, I mean, who didn't have anything else to do that day, I guess. But that's how they want it done now, because we do have that cash on hand. Everything else is stuff you've seen before, standard assets, cash in bank, cash in workers' comp, and accounts receivable. This is money owed to us at this time on June 30th that we haven't received yet. Most of this has been received. If you take these four numbers and subtract your liabilities and your committed funds, you'll come up with their fund balance. And let's see if there's any of those on the, these two right here are new this year. It's because we had people that retired on August the 1st, and there was a lot of sick money and vacation time associated with that retirement, and the obligation was already in place on June 30th because we knew that these people were retiring. So this is just to expense that off in the proper year, even though we're not paying it till August. So this means that this year we won't be charged for that money because we charge it off to the proper 12-13 year when that wasn't obligated. Here are the monies you just committed: site-based, sick leave, and workers' comp. The last item is purchase orders. Okay, that's purchase obligations we already had in place on June the 30th that we hadn't received the product for and we hadn't paid for it. But we'd already signed a PO. A lot of that is school POs. They bought a lot of things at that time. So once again, if you take those, you subtract these, you're going to get 7,429, 442.38. And that's where we're at right at the moment till we get to the next slide. Yes.
Go back up there to that accounts receivable, June 30th. That's the last day of the year.
That's the last day of the year.
What kind of accounts will we get that much money?
Oh gosh, we get tax dollars that fall into the month of August. We get communication taxes that go all the way to like August 28th before it comes in. But it was for the month of June of this year.
So that's net.
Right, I get, I won't embarrass which high school, but I got a payment today for travel for last year from a high school, and it was quite large. But they had to pay their share, and I had to make an for their share. So we get things all the way to the end of August. And no, it wasn't Fred Napier, don't look at it. But, so we get quite a few things in Virgil. A lot in the 1st of July, but even some all the way into August, like I said, the late 20s in August.
I just wondered what that was, because it's the last day of the fiscal year.
Yeah, but once again, they recognize the fact that we were due monies on June the 30th that we wouldn't receive for up to 2 months. So that's why they say you can count two months forward and count back to the prior year. Okay. Now, this unassigned fund balance, we're going to talk about how that compares to what we talked about in the budget in May. Okay? So in May, we had budget meetings, and we had several people participate all the way through January through May, trying to determine a budget for the fall, which is only a tentative budget. We revisited. So in that, the estimated beginning balance was $4.5 million. Now, how come we're here now, which this is not quite what we said before because there's little changes, but the first thing I did when I calculated May is I took off $1 million because we owe Kisbit more than $1 million, but we do not hold that money back. We're going to be hit by that somewhere. We've not assigned it yet, but I'm hoping at some point we assign that on our balance sheet because we had that obligation. It would be a miracle if we get out of that obligation. I know we may litigate for several years, but it'll be a miracle. So that money I didn't include, so that brought it up to 5.5. BMS flood insurance. We all knew that we were going to get a check from BMS flood. What we didn't know is when we get it. If I didn't get it by August 31st, I can't count it into the previous year. The statement was signed by Mr. Wagner on June 24th, proved the final loss. Mr. Kilgore got an email saying that they were going to go to Lloyd's of London to get the money. That's how far this had gotten, and it's been a big mess. They finally brought the check the week before the July, so I had to count it as a receivable now, but I did not know they were going to bring the check. We had no clue at that time when they were going to bring the check. I just said, we're going to talk to Lloyd's, we'll try to get you a check. Unemployment refund. Each calendar year, we pay unemployment quarterly, just like every other employer in the state does. Ours is actually handled by our friends at Kisbet. I hate to say that, but it is around the state. What they do is they pay out our claims for us on our behalf throughout the year. Then we do a settlement in the spring, your settlement, or in the summer. Your settlement could be that you have to pay, or if you've done a good job and you didn't lay a lot of people off, you get money back. This year, we got money back. So of course in May, we didn't know we were going to get money back. So that's why it's counted on the June 30th statement. It just came in at the end of July. Delinquent and omitted property. We're not allowed to budget delinquent and omitted because we know we're going to get it quarterly, but we don't know how much you're going to get. It could be $1, it could be $10 million. You really don't know. This is what delinquent and omitted we got in July. And we couldn't, we have no clue what we get, so of course you couldn't budget that in May. But here's the big one. We're going to talk about construction fund and transfers, okay? When you have a construction project, until you have a valid BG1, until you have an intent to bond, you cannot run that through your construction fund. You have to run that through your general fund. So therefore, we've been carrying costs for various schools in the general fund for a long time. We carried Southside several years on their new, but we're just now getting there. You cannot transfer a project over to construction fund if it's going to make construction fund deficit. We were so close at the end of this year, I did not know if we could transfer the new Phelps Fields over yet. It may have to be after July, and the rest of Southside. Because where the schools were finishing, we were using up our money that we had in construction fund, and I had to wait till the July bills come in to see how much they were, because the bills aren't the same each month in construction. These people do, you know, whatever the work is done in those 30 days, you get a bill for that 30 days, and it's all over the place. So once that we paid the bills at the July board meeting, then I went in and I made an entry for June the 30th and closed out Phelps Ball Fields to a construction project of its own. So it's now in construction. The same thing, this was the balance of the south side renovations that needed to be moved from the general fund to construction. So this is one-time money that came back to the general fund because of these construction projects. We had been carrying it all along. This kind of money doesn't come back every year, and I can assure you next year it will not come back because we don't have anything else we're carrying in construction in the general fund. But this made a big impact on that. So even just using these 5 codes, that brought us up to the 7.3. But once again, this is one-time money. This is one-time money. These, you just never know where they're at. They can be little big, or we can even owe on this one. So does that make sense to how we got from the 4.5 we discussed in May to where we're at now?
I don't understand what applies to there. Now, we didn't spend that money.
No, we spent the money out of the general fund.
Put it back.
But now that we're to the point where we're ready to bond these, kind of this school year we're in now, 13-14 school year, and we've got BG1s either completely finished or in the mix, and we had enough money in construction fund, we can actually move those, all the expenses associated with this project.
We had that much extra in construction.
No. We had spent that much in the general fund, and now it can be moved to construction fund so that we can bond and reimburse them to the general fund. So all this is reimbursing the general fund for what they spent on a project that's going to be bonded.
Well, one of the reasons I'm asking so many questions for myself is trying to get educated, because every time we come to one of those budget meetings, we were in dire straits of
Well,
maybe
I
having more
haven't
people
finished
on.
yet. You might be in dire straits where you live in. What I'm explaining. We still got 4 or 5 more slides, George. What are you talking about?
Before you go on, some of the costs that associated with the money that we have to front up the general funds is the
Architect
acquisition
fees.
of property, attorney's fees,
All those drilling costs, the core drilling and all that, which is a huge amount of money.
environmental study. So those add up big to your sale.
And all your Phelps land that we bought this year was in
when you
there.
sell the bonds, you put it back into the general
Right.
fund.
But now that we're anticipating the bond sale, we're in good shape.
I didn't know that before that there was a mission.
Okay, next slide. Virgil, you ready to go? Okay, the next thing is to do exactly what we did in food service. Let's compare the 11-12 school year with the 12-13 to see what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. The beginning balance in 11-12 is $3.1 million, and we ended the last school year on June 30th, 12 with $6.2 million. One of the things I want to point out is here in other revenues. This is the one time that we need to talk about other revenues. That is fund transfers. Now, if you're last school year, in the 11-12 school year, we transferred $2,716,541 from capital outlay and building fund to the general fund. We used it for electricity, we used it for insurances, we spent $500,000 on buses, and their KISTA payments. All that was transferred over. That's what helped us to have this balance down here at the bottom. And if you remember that, for the ones that were here, we discussed it. I said it will up your even balance because you're moving money into an area that's more flexible. Building fund and capital outlay are not flexible. General fund is. So if you'll follow this number over, this became our beginning balance for the 12-13 school year. Same thing, revenues, expenses, what we encumbered on our balance sheet. And we ended with the 7.429 that you saw just a few minutes ago. Look at the other revenues, $580,000. This year, we only transferred $563,119 from capital outlay and building fund. So this number at the bottom would have been bigger had we transferred more, obviously, but you got to remember we got that one-time money in there that we normally wouldn't have. But my point here is, if we continue with this practice, then we can do more in the general fund. But if we start limiting what we do with capital outlay and building fund, and we may need to if we're going to do some construction projects, I'm not saying we don't, that's decisions the board makes, and I'm not saying that the state's going to let us continue to do what we've been doing, then it's going to impact the fund balance because we won't have as much money. We made this money this year. When I say made, we don't technically make money, but we had more at year end because we made a decision like this right here. That certainly contributed. Okay, Virgil, you got that look on your face?
Repeat that question, that statement you made. We got this much because what?
We ended the year with so much more money, if you look, and that is had we not made this entry here to move that money from capital outlay and building fund, instead of ending the year with $6.2 million, we would have ended with $3.5 million. Okay? We would have carried forward only $3.5 million, which means we would have ended this year with $50 less. Okay? So this decision that was made here was the first year that they allowed us to move that money, and we used it for things the district needed, like, electricity and insurance and all those things. But it gave us this much flexible fund balance to move forward, which if we left it capital outlay and building fund, it was not flexible. Does that make any sense? Am I confusing?
That makes sense. I didn't get that though when we were in our budget meetings. You're breaking it down a lot more detail now.
Well, I was trying to.
And that's what we need to do, because I'm worried about laying people off.
Well, we have to always be worried about that.
Well,
Well, we're still not done. I still got 4 more sheets.
That capital outlay money can only be used when with permission from the state.
That's when we do those capital fund request forms. And we ask them, we want to move X amount of dollars for insurance. We want to put X amount of dollars like we did in the Phelps project for the caisson package. We want to put X amount of dollars over to buy buses like we did last year, $500,000. So there are various things that you can use it for, but it does have to be specified throughout, and it does have to be approved both by the board and by the state. I'm not allowed to do anything with it without permission from both of you all. Yep. But this year we escrowed the 700 some odd thousand, and then we put quite a bit in construction this year because we had to. Okay. Now, Virgil, this might be the report. I try not to lose you, but you never know. This is my favorite report. Because first I'm going to tell you this report, what it looks at, it gives you all the same numbers. Everything we've looked at can be combined in this report. I'm headed back to the year I started. Okay? But for me, this report tells me, did I live within my means this year? We have 1 year revenue and 1 year of expenses. And I always tell everybody, if you're at home and you've got $40,000 coming in, you've got $50,000 going out, you've got a problem, right? Well, all of us can raise our hands for probably not guilty. But you have to make some adjustments if you have that. So regardless of how much you have in savings sometimes, which is kind of what our beginning balance and contingency are, is their savings, we need to look at, are we making decisions that allow us, within this 1 year, we got in this much money and we spent this much money. And do we want to be in a year where we spend 100% of our money every single time? So this is all from the same information you all have seen before. This part's, there's some balance sheet, there's some AFR. But you get down here, here's the big one. Excess revenues or expenses. If this number is negative, like it was in 2005, that means we spent more that year than we took in. If it's positive, that means we took in more than we spent. Very simple. All the way across. So here's last year, where we just talked about how much money we transferred last year. We actually took in $3.275 million, basically more than we spent last year. If you take that number and add it to your beginning balance way up here, and move it up over here, that becomes the beginning balance for the new year, okay? This year, we actually end up receiving in $1.2 million more than we spent. Sounds good, don't it, Virgil? We're not done yet. But do y'all get what I'm saying there? This is how we deal with it this 1 year. Now, we carried this money over. We already had that money, but this is how we did this year in our budget. And then that gives us our balance that we've been carrying forward and talking about, okay? So it's very important, can we live within our means? That's the next slide. If you have personal cash flow issues at home, this is your plan. You can either use your assets. If you have savings, yeah, you'll probably try to use those to those run out. You'll sell your recreational vehicles, homes, whatever you need to. You'll create debt by borrowing, which appears to be the most common thing that taxpayers do nowadays, is we borrow money with our credit cards. Or you can increase your revenue by changing or adding jobs, or you can decrease your expenditures by your change of lifestyle. This is really the only ways I know of if you have a cash flow issue. Well, guess what? In a business, it's not a whole lot different. If we have assets, which is our beginning balance, the money we're talking about right now, we can use that. Or we can sell unneeded land, building, and vehicles, which we do whenever we have empty buildings so that we can put money back in. We can create debt by borrowing. Typically, we don't borrow. However, we have financed KISTA, payments for buses 1 year, and we do borrow to build buildings because there's nobody that can come up with that kind of money on their own. So that's the only debt we really go into. We can increase our revenues. Now, how do we increase our revenues? Student population is the number one way. If we cannot increase our students, it's hard for us to increase our revenues. We make good investments, but there's not much money to be made in investments now. At a tax rate, which you all have been very conscious to the taxpayer and kept that compensating rate for a long time. That's about the only basic ways we can increase our revenues. And then the last thing we can do is decrease our expenditures by changing standard of our operating procedures. Just like changing your lifestyle at home, there are things that we can look at and change our operating procedures. And the reason I say this is to get to the last page. This is what I have to look at and what I look at before I talk to the board when we do budget meeting, okay? If you assume that all things are equal, and it never is because revenue usually goes down and expenses usually go up, but let's just assume that most things stay equal. Let's look at how we did. Hey, you killed me. It was such a good slide. This is how much I told you that we made more revenues than we did expenses this year. $1.2 million was on the previous slide that had a spreadsheet, correct? You follow that, Virgil, where I had that number? Okay.
Why are you picking on me?
Because you always look at me like I'm with you, girl. If you don't slow down.
I'm going to be talking a lot more closer to you than I have in the past.
Ooh, okay. Now, I look at that. Okay, we made, quote unquote, made money because we had more revenues than we did expenditures, correct? But then you got to look at why did we? The first thing I looked at, well, we had transfers to construction that totaled $1.1 million. Those are one-time, non-reoccurring transfers. So we can't count on that for the 13-14 school year. Is that correct? You can only do it one time, you can't count on it again, right? The money's there, but we're not going to have that money in our revenues again this year. The Belfry Middle School insurance payment, once again, was a one-time payment. We're not going to get that revenue again in the 13-14 school year, so we can't count on it. So immediately, if you look at 12-13 and compared to what we're looking at 13-14, instead of making 1.2, we're already down $404,000, $880,000 of expenses over revenue if we spend money exactly the way we spend it next year as we did this year, okay? And if we receive money in. And then, if you have the things we'd like to do, and this is just some of the things that board members and we've all talked about. I'm not saying this is what we want to do. This is just a scenario on how fast money can go, okay? Bus purchases. This is a cheap bus purchase, isn't it? That's correct. This is not, normally we're in the 17, 18 range, but this is the last bus purchase we did, which we had that hybrid program. Maintenance vehicles, we know we have not been replacing our maintenance vehicles, and we're going to be shooting ourselves in the foot because we haven't. if we just did that 1 year, 100,000, and then a 1% raise, which is an ongoing expense, once you add it in, each year you've got to come up with that 700,000. It cost this district about 700 to 750, but I went conservative 700,000. So next year, if we look at the same revenues and the same expenses, subtract off what we know we're not going to get, and do our wish list, guess what? We're going to spend $2.45 million of what we have in that $7 million now, okay? And we already know $1 million of that needs to go to Kismet. So if you get a decrease in funding and fund balance, which is what this did up here, and you add what we have this year, we're already down to $4.9 million in 1 year. Now, I'm not saying we can't do this. What I'm saying is this is how fast money goes, what we have to look at when we look at possible scenarios. So when I come into a budget meeting, these are the things that I have done. I have sat and looked at these type of things. Now, so that means on 6/30/14, our balance could be down to here, assuming that we get every other dollar we did and we spend every other dollar we spent before. If all we do in 14/15 is continue the raise, which is the 700,000, not another 700,000, just that same 700, but it's now new, and we add in this shortcoming up here from the one-time money, we're down to $3.869 million in 2 years. So that's why this board, and I say this, I did this as much for you all as I did for people in the audience. They have hard decisions to make because you have to look at how to best use your dollars. It's not that they don't want to give a raise. It's not that we don't want to buy buses. It's just that you have to look at the things that are mandatory first. I tell everybody the first day of the fiscal year on July 1, 95% of our money's gone. Now, we may not have actually paid it out, but we've obligated it in the budget. Once you employ people and you have $1 million+ in insurance, you have $3 million plus in electric bill, you have almost $1 million in diesel, you've obligated that money out. So that's why when I come to the board, I mean, I try to give them every possible scenario. And they have to make the hard decisions. I just say this is what, this is the possible scenarios. So this was a scenario just to show how quickly money can go, even if you have constant revenues and constant expenses. So, now, brother, are we in good shape or what?
Yeah, I'm in pretty good shape with this. I understand what you're talking about, but we never did have an opportunity in the last 4 years or so to give a raise.
We've had so many issues, and the problem is, we transferred that money over last year, which made us a big balance. But we don't know if the state's going to let you continue to do that. So it's like if you're at home and you've got $25,000 in savings and you want to buy a car, and you think, well, I'm going to take that $25,000 and buy a car because it's a one-time expense. But do you want to take that $25,000, $400 or $500 at a time to pay your rent, knowing that at some point it's going to end? One-time expenditure versus ongoing expenditures is what we have to look at. And that's the problem with some of these things that we do. I'm not saying we can't do these. I'm just saying that sometimes you have to make a change in your lifestyle in order to pick up something else that you want to do. If you want to go on vacation to the Bahamas this year instead of Myrtle Beach, you may have to change something else in your lifestyle. So if we want to give a 1% raise or something like that, then we might need to make small changes in our lifestyle somewhere else. And that's what this report is to show, how fast it goes, and that we have to look at the possible changes if you want to do those things. Any questions? Justin's scared because he's over there smiling.
I'm good.
Okay.
On this general fund, you have salary and benefits at $47,805,000.
Yes.
1% would be 700,000.
You got benefits on top of that. And
It says that benefit.
right, but the benefits are set up different. We're talking 1% of salary, not salary and benefits. That's what I'm saying. A classified person, their benefits are 20% for retirement only, while a certified person's raise would only be 1.5% for retirement. On top of the base raise, if you gave each of them $1,000, it'd be $1,200 for a classified raise versus $1,100 for a certified. So you can't look at just that number and do 1%. That's what I'm saying. You cannot possibly do that. You have to look at how it's broke down between certified and classified and which benefits go with which one.
That's one of the things that bothers me, confuses me.
Yeah.
I don't know what you include in what, and whether that number's the right number that we need to consider or not.
Real fund, 1% $1 million.
Well, I mean, I'm the 750 range, but then you got to remember each year, on top of that raise, rank and step changes will be $400,000 for people who just change their rank or go up a level on the salary schedule. Every year, guaranteed, $4 to $5, sometimes $600,000, in addition to whatever we put here.
Instead of a raise, you don't know how to just look for it, I just put this out there. Can you give a one-time lump sum percentage to every employee?
My understanding is, and Larry Allen told me that, but my understanding is, if this, you have to give a rate that's equal to seek increase. If the state gave us an increase and they seek a 1%, we would have to give a flat 1% raise. If they gave a 3, we'd have to give a flat 3. If they don't give an increase, then the board can determine if there's any raise and how they want to do it.
So we could do that.
Yes, yes. You could just say, we're gonna pay a flat bonus of 1% in one check, at Christmas time. You could, and I'm just going on what I do, my understanding is, you could do 1% in the salary schedule all the way across and carry it forward for years. It's really up to you all when the state does not mandate. But when they say we're gonna increase base seat by 3%, then we have to change every cell in the salary schedule by 3%. But I think at this point, it's your all's discretion what we do, because the state has not increased it.
That's not permanent.
Okay, Larry Allen, good job. For those of you all remember Larry Allen, he was in here with the state, and he just, everything was my current understanding is.
But it doesn't have to be a percentage.
No, you can calculate any way you wish. It's strictly up to the board what you do. That is my understanding.
So I don't like the percentage. If you give 1% across the board to everybody, you're giving the $100,000 people, you're giving them $1,000. These poor people making $22,000, you're giving them $220. They're the people that need the raise.
Now, like I said, there are various ways you can look at that, and that is entirely up to the board. I'm just here to say that we can do these things, but we may have to make slight changes in our lifestyle.
And there's no way we can get capital outlay for salaries.
No, but we can move capital outlay for electricity, which relieves electricity money to go into salary. We can do it to buy buses, which gets Nancy his buses, but relieves money to go into salaries. So there are ways that we can move capital outlay and building fund to do the things we want to do, because it allows you to reallocate other funds in your budget to salaries.
When the State Department's given us permission to use those capital outlay.
And right now, they're continuing that process, which is a good thing, which means we can do that. Any other questions, problems? No, I'm good? Great. You still have to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve it, I'm sorry.
Okay. Number 6, CB, you've made a motion to approve the 2012-13 unaudited annual financial report. Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Number 7, approve amending the Pike County Schools current motto. Approve amending the Pike County Schools current motto.
I think Mr. Lefty's got a little comment.
Yes, of course, the motto is, and I like the motto, focus on the children, but inasmuch as we increased the dropout age to 18, I think we have students in our district that would probably be better served to be referred to as students, and I would like to change that motto to focus on the students.
I'll make
Make
that
that
motion.
motion. Second. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Number 8, approve the bullying and suicide tip hotline for the Pike County School District.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Back in
February at the KSBA conference, I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Scott McCurry and his group there from Security Voice. And CB was originally talking to them. I just happened to be walking by and they grabbed me. But I really enjoyed what they had to say. I really enjoyed listening to them. And I think that if we're going to stop bullying in these schools, we need to get serious about that. And I think this will help do those things. So with that being said, they are here to make a presentation. So if you please.
Sure, thank you.
The first thing that I personally want to do is thank you for your hospitality and your time and your invitation. I'd like to thank the ladies in the back row here for their time and communication and the hospitality to a stranger. As a former administrator and also a board member, I would like to congratulate you folks on what you do for kids. The Safe School Helpline Program is a national program that has been in effect since 1996. The benefit of the program revolves around the potential for anyone, students, parents, community, to communicate problems 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This communication can occur via phone, text, which the students use a lot, internet, in any language. And my friends in the back mentioned that there are other languages in your school district. You would receive a report that would be translated back from any language. The materials that we're going to pass around revolve around the fact that awareness of the program is key. Awareness through posters, refrigerator magnets, via recorded messages, via student videos, via connectivity on your website. Any way possible for students, parents, community to be able to communicate situations to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This also includes the potential for live, licensed guidance personnel to be available to your students and or parents also at any time. This would assist any counseling efforts that you have. Your counselors are great people, as the counselors that I had in my districts. However, they're not always available at midnight. And sometimes kids, students, anyone may have a problem that needs attention. These counselors are not on a cell phone someplace. They are in an office with the ability to collect information and get back to 911 and or the information that you provide us to get back to your safety people. The program creates an interactive voice situation where even anonymous callers can be questioned, can be referred to other agencies, can be referred with a public relations message or a directive. We know that with millions of people over almost 17 years of the service being available, that 98.7% of the people who communicate a problem and are given a case number and are told to communicate back through that case number hear the message that the school provides. It's a fail-safe program where our goal is to have communication set up that are never inactive. In general, quickly stated, that's what we do for school districts. And that's what Scott and two of your board members, I think, were discussing at the board convention back in January.
Basically, that discussion was about the current safety climate in America. And I started 3 years ago, and just from those 3 years, we've had some major incidents, and I feel like it has already changed on us. A lot of districts in America are looking to find answers. What we're trying to do is prevent that event from even occurring at a low cost to districts across America. We're looking to share the responsibility with the community members and help with any potential liability back with the community and putting that ear to the ground at 7 o'clock or 3 in the morning on Saturday. It's good to be there, and it's good to be there listening and to help facilitate the work of your administrators and staff. One other thing I wanted to mention, that this can be currently used and is currently used in America for any sort of staff-related issues as well. Should there be any sexual harassment or any other type of issues, this product and service can be used for that. And be filled with payroll stuffers and things like that, and be reminded that this anonymous tip line can be used for that service. I'd like to thank you for having us out here tonight, and we appreciate your time. We know how valuable it is. Thank you.
Are there any questions that we can respond to about the National Safe School Helpline Program?
What was the cost of the program?
$7,500 for your total district, and that is a big district discount normally, and your people saw a list of a number of the Kentucky schools that have our program. Normally it's 81 cents per student, but we factor in the situation for large districts.
That includes all marketing materials, banners, brochures, magnets that go home to every child. Mental health counseling can be used at any time. There's no hidden cost, setup fees, anything like that. You can say, hey, we want double the amount of brochures, we'll send you double the amount of brochures. You want a banner for every gymnasium, we do that.
Where do these calls go to?
The call center is in Columbus, Ohio. The people that staff that center are trained and have experience in communicating with the decisions that need to be made. If we're talking about an emergency, life or death situation, action is taken immediately, Mr. Osborne.
To whom?
To whomever you tell us.
That's a board policy decision. You guide us if we should contact someone from your district. If it's life or death situation, we can contact the police if necessary.
To whomever
you guide us.
You direct us, we will immediately take action.
This is part of the implementation that we set up with your district.
The normal school-related situations, those reports revolve around a 10 in the morning situation where your people would receive pertinent reports basically the next school day. Life and death emergency is immediately action is taken.
What's your definition of life and death in this situation?
Our people are trained that anything that, I'll give you a couple examples as a former school administrator. Beer party, our people hear about a beer party where kids may be involved in something that they shouldn't be involved in. To us, that's life and death. If it's a situation where someone is actually talking about violence and guns and weapons, that's life and death. The suicide people, if there's a situation where a suicidal situation exists, where the means and method for that problem exists, they're going to take action and keep the caller involved and get help there immediately. With millions of work in 6,000 school districts in 20 states, with millions of people involved, we had 61 of those life or death suicide situations last school year. Doesn't seem like a lot, but I'm very proud of what we do with each one of those. That's correct. That's correct.
If we were to approve you guys tonight, how quick could you get us the market?
I would say in a week. I might be held to 10 days if you don't mind, but very soon you would have materials and be ready to go.
You know, with our present enrollment, we'd be better off at 81 cents a student than 7,500.
Is that
He was just going to the average price is 90 cents per student, and we give you the discount to 8.
Whatever we said, we're going to hold you to. Whatever we said.
She's got it on camera, so.
Whatever we said is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Okay?
I don't think there's anybody in this room, and I'm glad to see my colleagues who's interested in the brewery. Nobody in this room hates that more than I do, in any aspect. I'd love to do something that's more effective than what we do now. I know that people do the best they can to sort it out and to identify it, but sometimes I have a feeling that because of who the culprits are, they don't get away with more than somebody else would. So I think we definitely are interested, I am as a board member, to get the best program that we can get. But personally, I think there's several questions like who do we want involved in this from our board that would prevent us from agreeing to hire you guys tonight to do that. There's too many unanswered questions. I'd like to take this thing and let you guys come back and make a meeting with the superintendent and some of us to explain it in detail. So we might see what kind of program would evolve out of it. Because I'm concerned about calling Columbus, Ohio, and then you calling somebody here and getting one of our local officials who, you know, we can't tell you who called. We got state police, we got county police, and we got city police, and, you know, it'd be wherever. And we have to have that system worked out. So my recommendation is for this board to study this thing and put it together.
Making that motion.
I make a motion that we table this to get them back here to more detail and let us think about it until that time to see what we want to do. And I think we also need to know what is being done when we have that meeting right now in our schools, so we can see.
I'll second that motion.
Get a second?
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you so much for your consideration, and we look forward to returning. Thank you.
I've got your card, and I'll give you a call. We've got a counselor that coordinates our counselors, and we'll work together.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Item number 9, under action with discussion, approve changing the monthly regular board meeting day from the second Tuesday of the month.
Mr. Chairman, I assume there's some reason that that's on the board, and I assume that Nancy and some other departments has had.
I'm not always beginning to work. I'm not always.
I don't know who put it on there, but let's hear from somebody.
I think we ought to leave it like it is.
I'll address the finance piece, okay? The further out in the month we are, the more bills we get. Bills are not cut by most vendors until the first of the month. If we have to have a board agenda ready, if the first Tuesday of the month is on August the 1st, I don't even have the bills by August the 4th. And that's the day the agenda has to be ready to Mr. Johnson in order to get to the board members for the following Tuesday. Also, where a lot of my reports are due at the end of the month, we're gonna have to have special call meetings because I can't have the budget ready that early in the month, and we have to meet again to approve it. Now, I'm not saying it needs to be the third Tuesday of the month. I don't care if it's the fourth Tuesday. That's, the further out the better, for my opinion.
They can get their bills in, they did it for 40 years.
No, I'll tell you what happened, because I inquired about that. What they did was they did the exact same thing y'all don't want done. They came in with a separate list the night of the board meeting of bills that they'd got in from the day they sent the agenda out to the day of the board meeting. And it was a big old add-on. But my problem, and we're having problems with construction because the construction bills, they're having to cut them before they even get the information from the vendors that are supposed to go to Pikeville. And then on top of that, Tina and Roger have to look at them before we even get to pay them. And I'm afraid we're going to make, numerous mistakes because we're trying to rush and get them ready. That's just my opinion.
I'll make a motion, we leave it to second Tuesday.
Nobody else wants to speak? I'll vote.
Here's second to that motion.
Well, second.
Have a motion and second that we leave the regular monthly board meeting for the second Tuesday of the month. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
One reason I'm voting no is if there's a reason we can have it the second Tuesday, I'm for it. If it's not,
help
Well,
us
I'm
out?
not the only one that needs to speak up.
I
We
mean-
discussed
I
this
mean-
as a group.
I just want to know the reason why and why not. I mean,
Okay, tonight you had to delete 2 items off of the agenda because it's so stressful when we're getting information in from the construction companies, the architects, to Codell Construction, and back to me. We had to delete 2 items off because it was processed twice. Once in July, and it's just, the time frame is hard to get in. Thursday night, I was here to 8:30, processing the construction items, so you all would have your agenda on Friday, because I didn't get the construction items till after Monday, not the 4th Monday, the Monday before the board meeting. What were you supposed to have?
Personally, I think that, we need to have time to do our business properly and pay the people who are vendors. Have you had any problems with that?
Yes, we are. We're actually, I mean, and our policy allows us to pay utilities and stuff through the month, which we do. But we have people who aren't getting paid, and we're going outside of the 30-day window that we say we'll pay them because we're not getting the bills until, the 7th or 8th or 9th. And I don't know about if there's any school secretaries here, but I'm on them to get their monthly reports in. They don't even have their bank statements. And here I am harassing them for a monthly report. I don't get the bank statements here at central office till the 4th or 5th. And so the monthly reports that you all see often do not include like interest income and stuff like that because I don't have time to put it on. We don't get them in time to balance them. So, I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just saying if we have to meet once a month and we're all having issues, it was just a discussion that we agreed to have.
Well, construction's not gonna go on forever.
Really, it feels like it.
You know,
What would be
I'm
wrong?
for doing it at such a time that it's most convenient for us to pay our bills and for our vendors to get their bills in so that there's no delays or lags. And it had worked for several years before.
Well, and this reason
I don't have any problem, but, I don't think it's just a good enough reason to say that's the way they did it in old time.
What's wrong with the 4th Tuesday? Would that hinder anybody's other meetings or anything?
Third or fourth's fine with me. It's
I
just
can
that-
work any time.
I
It
can't
doesn't
do
matter. I
so.
just want best for conduct business.
I think there was a move from the second.
Yeah, we got a motion second to continue with it on the.
Roll call vote.
On the second Tuesday. Okay. All in favor?
Roll call vote.
Okay.
I vote yes.
Mr. Bill,
I vote yes.
Mr. Maynard? Yes. Mr.
I
Hall?
don't know.
No,
No. So motion failed. Do we have another motion now?
whatever, I can work with anybody, whatever you guys think the best. Conduct business.
Yeah, we always have a problem with either, any of these weeks, we either have a problem with spring break on the second Tuesday, usually we have a problem the 3rd week because of Thanksgiving, the 4th week because of Christmas. So we always want to have one month that we have to make a correction on. But otherwise, I mean, I'm flexible, I'm just saying that it's.
I make a motion that we set the regular meeting date for the regular meeting of the Pike County Board of Education for the 4th Tuesday of each month. Was there a second?
Starting when?
Starting next month? Yeah, we started in October. Some people are just about it.
That one probably got me a little bit out
That's right.
And I'll have to say with the exception of the December board meeting, which will be on the 3rd Tuesday, because of Christmas.
We will correct that later. Let's have a motion.
there. I'll second.
All in favor? Roll call vote?
No.
Mr. Builder, no. No. Mayor, no. Mr. Oliver?
Yes.
Chuck?
Yes.
I vote yes. So the motion carries.
So now we're meeting on the 4th Tuesday.
Starting in October.
Starting in October.
Okay, with the added agenda items, we have a 9B. That is approve a pay increase for all Pike County school employees. hear some discussion on that.
I don't think there's anybody sitting at this board that wants that to happen. And, the only thing I'm concerned about is make sure that what we've been hearing for 2 years is not the fact now, that we got enough money to do that.
We never said there wasn't enough money, we said we had to make other adjustments in order to accommodate that.
Well, when we talk about having to lay off people, that don't mean you give
We're
up.
talking about you have to lay off people to, if you're losing enrollment and you're getting 5% cut from the federal government,
Right.
and you're already living beyond your means and you have to lay off people, that doesn't mean you can't give a raise, it just means you have to do the procedures to do that. We may not be able to keep everybody when you get a 5% cut in a federal grant, and that grant doesn't have enough money. And when we're talking about giving a raise as well, some of these programs may not be able to give a raise, we'll have to give it out of the general fund versus out of the program.
That's right.
Because the programs are short on that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm all for it, I'm just saying.
As you said, though, we can borrow from capital outlay.
No, it's not called borrow. We can take capital outlay and properly utilize it the way the state has said we can, which would allow us to free up some money, electricity to be used in other codes that could help possibly provide a raise to everybody. Does that make sense? I don't want to get in trouble with saying something I'm not supposed to say.
What are your people telling you about what they expect? Probably more than we can give.
Probably more than we can give, because it's been 8 years, okay? And
No, it's not. It's not been 8 years.
it's been since 2005 from what our estimate was.
I'd like to do salary schedules tomorrow. I'll give you a follow-up on that.
I mean, ask the employees, I mean,
It seems like it's been 20 years. I'll agree with you there, but I'm saying I don't think it should.
Last one I remember was like a 1% deal in January or something. That was a while back.
Several years.
we had estimated it was about around 2005, 2006.
Well, it's been too long, we'll all agree with
I
that.
mean, that's our estimate, I mean, we could be wrong, you know.
Well, that's what Mr. Lester was asking. We had
Been
a
asking
budget
around.
meeting scheduled for September 5th. Mr. Lester has an obligation that day, or we were looking at another date, and maybe we could do that, where we could discuss a lot of this stuff we're talking about tonight, because it'll be retroactive for the year. Whatever if they want to approve it that way, we can make it retroactive for the year.
Yeah, we need to have the work session on.
And you could have scenarios for 1%.
Yeah, and we can talk about the different ways you want to do it, on salary schedules, we'll talk about it.
But I will tell you, I'll be asking about it until we get some sort of answer.
We'll invite you to the meeting.
I appreciate it.
I usually try to.
We don't want to just put this off and think we're going to get rid of it.
Okay,
It's
I was
coming.
thinking, we
Yeah.
can do it September the 2nd, which is a Tuesday versus, September the 3rd, which is a Tuesday versus September the 5th, which was the Thursday. With Mr. Lester having an issue with the train that day. That gives
Day after Labor Day.
That's the day after Labor Day, right? We'll do it at 5 o'clock. Yeah, no, September 3rd, is that okay with you, 5? You want
That's the
5:30?
Tuesday after Labor Day, right?
Okay, 5:30 on September the 3rd for Budget Committee, you're invited. Anybody
I
else
will be
invited?
there, I promise you.
Everybody's invited.
I thought you were saying September the 5th, that's my birthday, and I was going to tell you that'd be the happiest birthday I ever.
My birthday's on the 7th, let's just hold it over.
Well, we need to table that. Let me talk about it.
Make a motion to table that, until we have the work session in September the 3rd.
I say,
And this room, guys, if anybody wants to come to that work session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So 9B has been tabled with the promise of a budget meeting. Okay. 9C, listen and comprehend Board Attorney Mr. Neil Smith's audit report as requested at the last board meeting on July 9th, 2013. And approve a complete audit of all Pike County schools and departments in addition to the regular school audit performed each year by a local accounting firm. Let's have some discussion on that. Well, Neil first, give you the report.
Well, I have prepared, but have not yet mailed, because I thought that was something we did need to discuss, a letter to Mr. Edlin, the state auditor, asking him if in his opinion, based upon his partial audit of the system, more specifically the school food service, he thought his findings within that audit warranted further auditing of our school district, specifically all of our schools and all of our departments. And I don't know what his opinion will be, what his response will be. I've had a couple of people ask if I could inquire of Mr. Edlin what it would cost. They're not a private accounting firm, of course. They're not a forensic accounting firm. It's the state auditor's office. They don't solicit business. They don't provide you with estimates. They don't tell you what's going to cost. If you want them to come up here and audit, my understanding, they will come up here and this whole district, they'll be here a long time. And when it's over, they will send you a bill. And whatever it is, you'll pay it.
The bill we received was $57 an hour for this service.
They were here 2 days for $10,000.
Good deal.
So, we'll check into it, see what they say, and maybe I should report back to the board. I mean, that's all I know to do right now is to wait on Mr. Edlund's response.
Well, that's what we want you to find out.
Okay.
There was one alternative with that, is take one of our auditors and identify specific departments and things that we want done and pay them extra to do that.
I've heard that option, and I don't think that's not a bad idea. That's up to the board, of course, but.
I do think, don't we need to maybe discuss some things due to the fact that may need some litigation?
Yes, sir.
And, we don't need to do anything out here right now.
Well, we do have some auditing issues that
Yeah,
are,
I'm not trying to.
on the plate right now.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put anything off, I'm just trying to make sure we don't step too quick.
I agree with you.
I'm not trying to read your mind, but I believe what you're saying, wait until we go this executive session and then come back out and we'll know more about this. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that's exactly right.
There are some personnel issues we're going to discuss in executive session bearing on that issue.
Well, let's just,
Mr. Chairman, I move we.
let's table that 9C until after we come out of the executive session.
Right.
Is that all right?
You make a motion doing that?
Okay.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, per Robert Rules of Order, ask for reconsideration of item number 8, item discussion, that we go ahead and approve that fully online security board. And I request a second.
Why don't you do that when we come back out?
Go ahead and do it now.
Oh, okay, well, I was going to.
Okay, we have a motion. Going back to item A, I believe with the last vote that was tabled, is that what we did, Jeff?
Yeah, we tabled that out, and I'll make a motion that we were considering go ahead and approve it.
Okay, approve the bullying and suicide kit hotline for the
Yes.
Pike presentation that was made a few minutes ago.
Correct, that is the motion.
You'll hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
All opposed? No. So, motion is carried.
Yeah, well, the superintendent will set out the details, and he'll be discussing it with them, things. And
Yeah, we'll work with Ms. Brandon
Yeah.
to coordinate the account for us.
I think it's a neat thing, and they need to do it quick, about appreciate it.
Okay, item number 10, approve retiring to executive session to discuss personnel and property acquisition. Do you hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to do that.
Okay, I'll second. All in favor? Any opposed? Be back short.
I make a motion, we adjourn the regular session.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The board has been in executive session to serve KRS 31.16 to discuss litigation and personnel matters, and no action was taken.
Okay, going back to item 9C concerning the school audit that we tabled, I want to make the motion that we carry that over to give the superintendent an opportunity to check with these auditing firms and see what kind of price we can get and who that we should use. Yeah, he'll request proposals from different accounting firms to see if we can get somebody who will audit all the departments here at the central office and some or maybe all of the schools. Is that right? They'll hear a second to that.
You're asking to reconsider and ask for approval to do
Right.
the request for proposal?
Right.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carried. I guess, discussion without action. Approve discussion of policy number 01.45, board meeting agenda regarding adding items to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think we currently have a policy in regard to that. And I believe it's on the program tonight. I believe it's listed.
Okay, there's an attachment.
Yeah, it's on here.
Yeah, I think we already have a policy on that, and I think if we just adhere to that policy, I don't think there needs to be any changes.
I think-
I do too, as long as we
I
follow.
mean, there are some exceptions there to,
It provides for exceptions that are needed and necessary,
I think if there's something
but nothing that will be discussed at length.
to notify the chairman or the superintendent at least 8 days in advance, calendar days, if a particular board member wants something on the agenda.
Or 3 concur tonight. Yeah, you better read.
Okay, any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Is that all right with everybody, what Chuck said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Fine.
Let's go right.
We're not taking any action.
No, not whatsoever. Number 2, discussion, presentation of Teach for America by Will Nash.
Thank you for having me. I will be very brief because I don't know.
Shake your hand.
I'll send the contract for the next meeting and we'll be good to go. My name is Will Nash. I'm the Executive Director of Teach for America here in Appalachia. We are an education nonprofit that works with school districts to help them find teachers when and where they need teachers. We are a nationwide organization. We've been around about 25 years. And our goal is on helping you achieve your vision for your school district. Essentially providing every student with a high-quality education, no matter their economic background or the circumstances they come from. And we recruit teachers specifically with that charge and with that mission. I think the way that we're a little bit different than some colleges of education is that for the last 25 years we've studied what makes the most successful teachers successful, and we've built a selection model around those things. And it's not anything that would surprise you. People who are successful in business or at law or in medicine know how to set goals, know how to overcome obstacles, know how to be relentless, know how to invest people in their work, and that's what we look for in teachers. So the reason I'm before you tonight is because I was invited to just provide basic information about Teach for America in the event that you might consider a partnership with us in the future. And what a partnership entails is essentially we provide you with applicants for open roles, either where you have trouble finding applicants or where you want to consider other applicants. And then if you hire someone, we agree to support them in certain ways, and you will help us offset the cost of recruiting, selecting, and training that teacher over the course numbers, we currently work with about 19 districts in eastern Kentucky. Every district that Pike County touches is one of our partner districts. We've got about 45 teachers across those 20 districts, and we'll be entering our third year here in Appalachia this school year. So far, success has been really positive, and every principal who's hired our teachers from year one has continued to do so each subsequent year. So,
Let's speak about Teach for America.
as long as it's positive.
It's very positive. This past year, my role in KDE was under Education Recovery Specialist, and I had 2 Teach for America teachers at Sheldon Park High School, and they were absolutely phenomenal. We had another Teach for America. I worked with the math department. We had another Teach for America teacher that I didn't work as closely with in science, but she was equally successful. And I was a principal for 10 years, some of the best teachers that I've seen come out of any program. They were phenomenal.
How many do we have in our district right now?
You all actually just hired your first.
I think it. Mr. Gavin, you want to say a brief word?
Spanish teacher, actually, Alex Chandler. You talk about a fine young man, come from Colorado, Mr. Nash, nice to meet you. I think we met by email only. Our 5th day in the classroom, and he is so far doing an outstanding job, and we really look forward to this relationship over the next couple of years with him. We think he's going to do an outstanding job with Spanish stuff. He's actually got a BA degree in political science, but he tested out in Spanish and brought it to the classes. We're excited. We're excited to be in partnership with you.
So that's just one example of what we can do. Spanish teachers are hard to find in Eastern Kentucky, and we're looking for 2 this year, one in Belfry and one in Phelps. We were able to provide some applicants. They go through the exact same hiring process anyone else would, and it's ultimately up to the principal and the site-based council who they want to hire.
Are any of them local?
Yeah, about half of them are local. We have one Pike County native who's in our program this year who's actually ended up teaching down in Knox County. But several folks from Moorhead or the University of Kentucky, which is where I went, as well as Brigham Young University or across the country. So it's a good mix of individuals.
So basically, what you're saying is that we had an opening and it was advertised, ready to apply, just like somebody else.
Right. So what a partnership with us entails is just us providing you access to our pool of applicants should you all want to consider them. But you're under no obligation to hire them or do anything with them.
What's it cost us for partnership?
So just to sign on the dotted line, it doesn't cost anything. If you all don't hire anyone, it doesn't cost you anything.
That's good.
If you hire someone, then the terms of the contract would kick in, and it would be $3,000 per year up to 2 years. So the maximum investment you're going to make is $6,000 in a new teacher, and then we raise the other 80 or 85% of what it costs to support that teacher. Yeah.
They get wonderful training too in the summer. It doesn't cost Ford anything.
And we can opt for any position that's vacant, not, for example, the Spanish position, we just opted to look for you in terms of that, if we have an industry or whatever.
Yeah, basically what happens is I just
overall for all of this.
I just monitor the jobs board and send Mr. Kilgore applications when they're aligned, and then they go into whatever vacuum applications go into, and from there, principals decide what they want to do with them.
KDE works with them closely. That one slid right through. They knew it was coming. Everything was there. I received the copy of the certificate today, and I mean it's just like clockwork.
Mr. Nash and I had spoken briefly about this, I guess that was a couple of months ago. Mr. Nash gave me a call, and we had discussed this, and I really researched that organization. They are a magnificent organization. And I would recommend that we enter into a contract with them.
We've had some good comments from adjacent counties. I've talked to superintendents there, and nothing but positive things to say about those folks.
Good. Well, I'm happy to come back and present again. I know we're short on time. But I'll send you paperwork and we can meet one-on-one and answer questions. Go from there.
If you'll meet with me and do some paperwork, then perhaps if they want to look at the next meeting, then we'll have that ready before them.
Sounds good. Thank you all. Thank you.
Item number 3 under discussion without action is to approve discussion of the school food service program, breakfast and lunch served in the cafeteria and not in the classroom.
If I may, before we start that discussion, introduce to you our brand-new food service director. She's been on the job for at least 2 days, well, a day and a half anyway. That was a while yesterday, so I'm sure at this point, after that period of time, she's certainly qualified to answer any question you want to have. So feel free to ask any question, and I'm certain she can answer effectively. Miss Lisa Hess, she's been in the district. She's been a principal and had a variety of experiences, and we're really glad that she's decided to tackle this endeavor.
Thank you very much. You all have a folder in my day and a half time. You have a folder there, and this is going to take 2 minutes because I promised Mr. Gilliker. But anyway, what's in your folder is a list of currently, as of today, what the food managers say is happening for breakfast in the classroom or not in the classroom, whether it's grab and go, whether it's served by the line, or I don't really need that, I'm so loud. Oh, okay. And so anyway, if you will give me this month to kind of look at this and just see what's going on so that I could report back to you and you'd have more information to go on. And the other thing that's in your folder, just so that you know, they had created before I come a 2-week cycle that meets our federal guidelines for USDA's minimum requirements of everything. So if you'll look at this, the top says what the lunch is that the students have received so far since school started. And then underneath it, depending on the option that the school has chosen to use, you'll either see breakfast served by line, breakfast served as in the classroom, or breakfast served as grab and go, so that you know what your students have had a choice in eating so far in our program. So if you'll look at your list, though, you'll see that probably not half of our schools are doing breakfast in the classroom at this time. So, and I think they've kind of just given them that choice of what's working for them. And I think that ultimately we're probably going to have to look at some modifications based on some things that I've heard from you guys, and also some things that I've heard from the girls. But, you know, after a day and a half, I wouldn't want to make any recommendations. So even though Mr. Lester says I have all the answers, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them at this time.
Okay, what are these two, what are their arguments for or against breakfast in the classroom or breakfast in the lunchroom? Well,
So far, the ones that I've entertained is there is sometimes considerable waste. If there's supposed to be 20 students in a classroom and you send out 20 breakfasts, 15 students are there, we have 5 meals that have gone out. Also, an issue with that is there are some of those things that could come back to the classroom, come back to the lunchroom, but if it's a biscuit that's been wrapped up, we can't freeze it. I mean, there's just no way to keep contamination, so that product is just not reimbursable. Milk, if it's kept at a certain, returned and it's kept cold in those cold bags, would be okay to let a student have, but we can't resell it twice. So it would just, could be distributed to students. So that's a question about breakfast in the classroom. Also, there's an argument with breakfast in the classroom about the choice. And if you'll look, if they get breakfast in the classroom, they don't have the same alternative as going through the line. Having said that, especially at the high schools, I think one of our issues is that students who go to high school lots of times are drivers and they arrive late. They're not going to take the time to eat their breakfast, and we want them to eat, and we want them to have something that they like to eat. And so sending them a breakfast in the classroom is going to give them an opportunity to eat if they're a late arriver, or if the buses arrive later at some of the high schools because they're at the end of the road. So that's an issue with breakfast in the classroom versus not breakfast in the classroom.
That's all right. I think you probably know why the breakfast was being served in the classroom.
Well,
if we had 20 students in that classroom, we sent 20 breakfasts, and we got reimbursement for 20 breakfasts.
As a principal, I worked with breakfast in the classroom at my school for 2 years, and it was highly successful. But we were a small school, and I know that each school has their own set of issues and circumstances. And what I'd like to do is go out and speak with the principals, talk with the lunchroom managers, see what options are working for them, how we can best serve our kids, because ultimately my goal for school food service is, one, serving them food that our students can eat and making sure that hungry students get to eat. Fiscal management and then good PR. So we want all those things in school food service. And so I would like to be able to kind of look into this and see what we can do about it.
I think your idea is exactly right. I think before we make a decision that we're not going to do it in the classroom anymore, or that we are going to do it in the classroom, you need to go talk to these people and see what their concerns are and their problems are, and what's serving the children the best.
Well, and that's what we ultimately want to do. I don't want high school students to miss out on breakfast because they drove and got there as the bell was ringing. And so that's one issue. But another issue is we don't want to have waste. So we do want to, we need to look at all those things.
Well,
and I know what Mr. Ratliff was saying about the fact that, if we are getting reimbursed for all those meals, but what we have to make sure is that we're in compliance with the law. And so we can't be reimbursed for a meal for a child that's not there or a child who didn't take that meal.
Sure.
So we want to make sure that we don't break that federal guideline. But yet, I would like to see something to where if a child wanted to take a meal and share something, and it wasn't illegal to do that. So I have to check into those things. I just don't know. Because, honestly, if I don't want my biscuit and she does, I like for her to have it. But at the same time, we can't break the law to do that. So we want to find where we can go legally and do what's right for our kids at the same time.
Well, as Mr. Ratliff indicated and you indicated, there's two real concerns. One, we want kids to eat, because a lot of them need to eat breakfast.
Yeah.
And we want all of them to eat that possibly can, and we want to have the procedures that allow this to happen with the least amount of disruption.
Right, because we don't want to interrupt instruction.
Right.
But we want to feed them.
And we don't want to mess, and
No.
that's hard to clean up. But second thing is, as I understand it now, and I may be wrong, the more breakfast we eat, and that we get the kids to eat, the more reimbursement we get.
You're 100% right, and that's kind of why I think Mr. Ratliff was alluding to that we want to make sure that we get all of our reimbursement, but that before we'd maybe taken it to the classroom because we were looking for reimbursement for every meal. But I know at my school, we did not do that when I was principal. We marked who was there, and we were reimbursed for their meal, and we marked them absent if they were absent. So,
Ms. Hess, is this the third year of our trial period?
yes, it is.
This is third year.
This is the third year.
We noticed on the food service chart a while ago about the budget.
Yeah.
I paid more attention than they thought I was. But on the food service,
I think that Nancy realized you were paying attention.
on the food service thing, we saw that the first year we only had X amount of dollars that we made.
Yeah.
And that was down from the year before.
Right.
But we wasn't in that, the year before, we wasn't in that program. Now, this year was the second year of the program. We learned a little more about it.
Yeah, and I spoke briefly with Melissa because, again, I haven't been there long, but I spoke briefly with Melissa about food costs and how we had saved some money. And one of the things that we went to this past year that we just come out more fiscally sound was instead of using some of the prepackaged breakfast and lunch where you just open up the box like a Lunchable or something, we had more prepared foods. And that's cheaper costs for us.
We learn as we go along. That's why we come out with a greater advantage of savings this year.
Yeah.
Had more money left
and then there was
than we had
a
last
freeze
year.
on spending, which probably, they didn't buy, a lot of extra things trying to get more solvent. They worked really hard. Just talking with Melissa and Diane and the other ladies, Joyce and Becky, they worked very hard this past year, to make sure that the program became more fiscally sound, and I think they're to be commended for doing that.
Well, I hope with you working with the school principals and the folks that's involved in this thing, the lunchroom people at each school, on the manner of serving and time and method and all that, that we'll have more money at the end of this coming year.
Well,
than
I
we had
hope
this
so
year.
too. If not, I'm going to consider it an unsuccessful year for myself.
It was going up, but the first year,
Yeah.
we couldn't hardly get people to eat.
Right. And we are going to look at some things that I've already started talking with the central office staff. We're going to look at some things that maybe we could do to help our students want to come to the lunchroom and to eat what we have to offer and still stay within those federal guidelines, which, are changing every day, and it makes it a lot harder. So.
Mrs. Hess, why don't we just leave this with you? You can decide with the school, you and the school principal and school lunchroom director can decide where that meal will be served. I don't think the board needs to take any action on that.
Okay. All right, and anytime you have some questions, just let me know, and we'll see how it's going, and I'm sure Mr.
You'll give me a
Lesser
Pop-Tart,
will.
I'd say.
If you choose a Pop-Tart, Mr. Ratliff, but if you choose to have something else, I'm sure you'll have the option.
No
Just I want the
Pop-Tart.
chicken dish. No.
When I have Pop-Tarts, I like mine heated.
That, item number 4 under discussion with action. Discussion of the Pike County Schools logo.
That was I. And my thinking on this was, along with Patty Johnson, we've come up with a contest for our students. We thought if focus on the students was going to be our motto, we would come up with a logo and let it be designed by them. And we want to have a contest available to all our students. And we want to run that for at least a month, and maybe by the October board meeting, I can have to use some samples of logos that are developed by our kids, and you can then choose which one you think would be best reflective of our motto and of our focus this year. So I just wanted you to be informed that we're going to have that contest, and hopefully I'll have it back to you by the October board meeting.
Does everybody here know what our logo currently is? His head's turn that around and everybody can see.
The logo. The apple with the kids is the logo.
Apple with the kids,
Yeah.
that's what you're talking about,
Yeah,
right?
that's the
apple
logo.
with the kids, right.
This is now
At Pike
focus
County
on the
Schools.
students.
Pike County School. And they have to have focus on the students, right?
Focus on the students will be the motto.
Right.
We will have a logo developed by students to reflect that focus.
Apple and some underfed children.
I like to do item number 5. I want to adjourn.
Wait just a second. Did you not have an item
Yes.
I think you
We
get
got
that.
it?
We are.
Let's roll.
Yes, he did have an item added to the agenda.
Yeah, drug policy.
We have a drug testing program for children, although it's limited to certain ones and randomly selected. I think that no less should apply to teachers, administrators, and board. I volunteer to be the first one to take it. If we so select, this is an item without action right tonight, but we want to think about the process, the procedure, because it would be a lengthy and costly thing to get everybody involved at once. But we're talking about everybody. We're talking about teachers that are certified, classified, central office, everywhere, except the ones that get tested now.
Why don't I suggest that I bring you some drug testing policies that have been approved by the courts, because there's a slew of them that have been disapproved by the courts. You can't just go out here and randomly drug test employees, not all employees. It depends on what they do, how their work affects the safety of children. Are they school bus drivers or are they janitors? And there's a difference. But I'll be happy to do that. I just thought I would suggest that. But you don't want to approve something that's not.
No, we can't prove that in here tonight. either.
No, but I mean, you don't know.
But explain to me what you just said. If they handle children, you know, if they're concerned with children.
Well, it's not that simple. The courts make a distinction between the kind of people that can be drug tested. There has to be a purpose behind the drug testing. There's more of a safety concern to drug test a bus driver, for example, than to drug test a janitor. There's So there has to be some rational reason for drug testing.
I hope we can come up with a rational reason for this. But we might not, but one of the groups that I wanted to be tested, and I think we can do that, would be all new hires.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
But I agree totally with you. Get us something that we can go by so we can make a model.
I'll do that. Sure will. I'll make a motion to adjourn.